Chapter 2188. The Fate of 8 King Kong. Chapter 2188. The Fate of 8 King Kong. Was there anything more painful than watching your own death? Was there anything more painful than watching one's own brothers, one's own women, and one's own relatives fall one by one? What could be more painful than seeing a boss that you can't kill? No. In Long Fei's world, there was no such thing. No matter how strong or how powerful the backlash from the soul blood was, Long Fei still did not frown even once. Thinking about the backlash of the blood essence Jojo had suffered for him, his heart became firmer. Everything will be up to you. Let the storm come harder. That's better, because Long Fei wanted to borrow the strength of the soul blood's backlash and perish together with the young man. This was his belief. In that moment, he took a step forward. His footsteps were heavy, and it was unknown whether it was his power or the backlash from the soul blood, but just with this single step, the entire Conqueror realm was trembling. With this step, the remnants of the main Temple's army that were slightly closer to him were instantly crushed. The soul bead was still absorbing the soul, and its arrogant god energy value was still increasing. However, Long Fei was no longer paying attention to any of this. Boss! Crap! Boss wants to... Li Yuanba's eyes darkened. It was also at this time. Li Yuanba moved his body and sent a sound transmission. We are the 8 great heaven pillar of the ancient world. We are the guardians of the ancient inheritance on Boss's body. We are also 8 King Kong. The man said, King Kong, just say what you want to say. I can give up my life for Boss. Fat Man Chin asked, so what if you're God's tribe? Is the God tribe that great? Can't we kill him? His grandmother. King Kong, speak. The Black Knife said. Li Yuanba said, we have to endure the pain of the soul blood's backlash within Boss's body. All 8 of us will endure it together, so we should be able to withstand the power of the soul blood's backlash. Agreed. No problem. Carrie, then what are we going to say? Let's start. The 8 King Kong had the same heart. Li Yuanba said slightly, the power of the soul blood's backlash. We will all die. As soon as his voice faded, everyone was silent for a few seconds. The celestial spirit laughed. What's there to be afraid of? It's not like we've never died before. I've already said that for the sake of the boss, I don't even have to give up my life. F***CK. If he's dead, then he's dead. I'm afraid that his wife might catch him. If I don't kill this god's tribe, I would be unhappy. Look at his proud expression. Who do you think he is? What does his god tribe count as? What are you afraid of? Bring it on. A scene of Jojo flashed through Aoya's mind. The surroundings were densely covered in blood, so it could be said that he had died from a burst of blood. The state of his death was extremely miserable. At that time, she had asked herself if it was her, could she do this? At the time, she had no answer. Now, Aoya smiled indifferently, thinking to herself, Big Sis Jojo, I can do it too. And then, Aoya said, King Kong, come at me. 7 King Kongs looked at Li Yuanba, her firm gaze not wavering in the slightest. They knew very well. Their mission in life was to protect Long Fei. If Long Fei died, then why would they protect him? Even if Long Fei died, the man from God's tribe would not let them off. He would still die. Thus, since death awaited him no matter what, he might as well be Long Fei's last guardian. Li Yuanba clenched his fists tightly and said, all right. It was also because of this blood vein that their 8 King Kong S, the Heaven Pillar S, had been activated from Long Fei's body. Thus, Li Yuanba had a way to transfer the soul blood S in Long Fei's body. Li Yuanba bellowed loudly, boss. In that instant, Li Yuanba's entire body was scarlet red. His blood essence was retrograde. All the muscles in his body were twitching, and with the form of his hands, a stream of blood essence appeared on his scarlet red body. At the same time, also did the same. Similarly, a drop of crimson blood essence also appeared on their bodies. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 8 pillars of light shot up into the sky, each with different attributes. Long Fei raised his head slightly to look at the sky. What are you guys trying to do? In that instant, Long Fei's eyes shook. He immediately knew what the 8 King Kong was going to do, and shouted loudly, all of you stop. Stop. Li Yuanba, stop. Heavenly Spirit. Oya, all of you stop. Li Yuanba laughed innocently and said, Boss, we are your guardians. We did not fulfill our duty as guardians. I am sorry. Buzz. His blood essence stirred. In this instant, Li Yuanba took the initiative to place the soul blood S and antiphasic force within Long Fei's body into his own body. In the blink of an eye, Li Yuanba's body crazily exploded as fresh blood spewed out of every one of his pores like a thin fountain. In less than half a second, his surroundings were densely covered in red threads as his entire person was enveloped in a bloody mist. Pain. Intense pain. Li Yuanba finally knew how unbearable the backlash from the soul blood was, and finally knew what kind of pain Long Fei was enduring. Ah! Li Yuanba roared, as he drew even more antiphasic force onto his body. Stop! Stop! Long Fei roared. He was completely unable to control the backlash of the soul blood in his body. If he could control it, 8 King Kong would definitely not be able to take it. Jojo died to suffer the strong backlash of his blood essence. Now an 8 King Kong. This was even worse than killing Long Fei. Arhut smiled and said, It's my turn. Boom! The Arhut's body immediately sank in the instant of his teleportation, and like Li Yuanba, his entire body exploded with blood. The intense pain caused his entire body to madly explode. Haha, me too. The Holy Spirit moved, laughing maniacally. Lin Yuxing followed. Fat Min Chen followed him. Oya followed. Black Knife Uncle followed him. The descending dragon followed. 8 King Kong, 8 positions, 8 lumps of blood mist. The 8 pillars of light turned blood red. The 8 people inside Long Fei's body crazily transferred the pain of his soul blood's backlash. The 8 people did not move at all and did not even bat an eye. They were guardians. The guardians' fate was to never let Long Fei die first. This was their destiny. Long Fei screamed until his throat hurt. It was useless. It was completely useless. Madman, madman. All of them are lunatics. The young man's eyes trembled. He never thought that the 8 Vajra body would actually transfer the backlash of the soul blood. No one would do such a foolish thing, because he was using his own life in exchange for his own. And it was 8 lives for one. He was shocked. Don't be scared when Long Fei releases 10 drops of soul blood. He was scared stiff by 8 King Kong's choice. It was all crazy. The young man's body trembled slightly. At this moment, he knew that he had underestimated this world, underestimated the 8 King Kong, and even underestimated Long Fei. Madman, madman, all of you have gone mad. I'll play with you guys. He wanted to escape. Chapter 2189, Failing to Kill, Long Fei's Madness. Chapter 2189, Failing to Kill, Long Fei's Madness. They're all King crazy. They're all crazy. The young man retreated step by step. The 7 luminaries' blood, moon, suffering appeared. The 7 glorious blood prison had been broken. Long Fei ignored everything and activated his soul blood. 8 King Kong suffered the backlash of the soul blood with his life on the line. Only a madman would dare do such a thing, and only a madman would dare to act against someone from the God's tribe. The young man's heart seemed to have reached the limit of what he could endure, and he didn't dare stay any longer, and never wanted to take the ancient inheritance from Long Fei either. Right now, he wanted nothing more than to disappear and flee from the 100,000 plains. Everything was too crazy. So crazy that he couldn't take it anymore. He had to leave, but some people disagreed. Long Fei, the 8 King Kong, had transferred the backlash of the soul blood in his body. The 8 of them were still crazily bleeding. Their cultivation was shrinking, their strength, everything inside their bodies was collapsing. If this was their fate, then what did they want to do? To exchange their lives for Long Fei's. Then he must kill the boss. With the matter at hand, Long Fei was no longer able to stop the 8 King Kong. The lives of brothers were more important than his own. Jojo's life was more important than his own. After paying so much, the boss was going to leave? No matter how good-natured Long Fei was, he would not be able to tolerate it. Furthermore, he had a bad temper, so he would be even more unable to tolerate it. Have you asked this, Daddy? Boom! With an explosive sound, it directly descended before the young man. The man's gaze darkened, and he said, Long Fei, what are you planning to do? I have to leave now. I am no longer interested in your life, and you won't be able to survive either. Even if the 8 King Kong withstands the backlash of the soul blood for you, you only have one shadow left, and your body is still in the 7 luminaries' blood moon. So if you try to forcefully break through the 7 luminaries' blood moon suffering, your soul won't be able to take it either. It's only a matter of time before you die. Do you still want to stop me? Long Fei said solemnly, So many people have died. If you do not die, then their deaths will have been in vain. If I do not kill you, then my life will have been in vain. Kill me. Humph! The young man snorted coldly and said coldly, Earlier, you couldn't even kill me with 10 drops of the soul blood's power. What are you going to use to kill me now? What I possess is the God's tribe's blood vein. Do you know what God's tribes mean in this low plane? Don't die. I advise you to scram to the side. The young man was unwilling to stay, even if he knew that Long Fei wouldn't be able to live for long. He did not want to absorb the power of the ancient inheritance from a madman. Not die. God's tribe blood vein, an immortal existence. That was what he wanted. This was also the reason why Long Fei was unable to crush him, and was unable to kill him because he was willing to. This was because of the blood vein's ancient history. It was also because of the plane ranking ancient times that he would not die no matter how strong the power that Long Fei unleashed was. It simply didn't touch him at all. However, Long Fei was very determined. He had done so much, his brothers had died, his relatives had died, and in the end he had still failed to kill the boss. Thus, Long Fei laughed sinisterly. Just now is just now, and now is now. Just now, I was unable to kill him, but that does not mean that I cannot kill him now. The young man sneered and said, Kill me? How are you going to kill me? Do you still have any power? You can't even kill me with the strength of a soul blood. Do you still have more strength to kill me? It was extremely disdainful. The young man smiled and said, I advise you to scram to the side. If you block me again, I will personally kill you. At this moment, Hong Tu's eyes darkened and immediately knelt before him. Master, Long Fei must die, or else. Otherwise we will all die. Didn't you promise me that I would become an outer disciple of the God's tribe? I beg of you, please kill Long Fei, I beg of you. If Long Fei didn't die, then he would die. Right now, the 100,000 planes were in complete chaos. The laws were chaotic, and the power of laws he controlled was completely destroyed. He was no longer a sovereign. Even if Long Fei didn't kill him, if anyone else were to first comprehend the power of the ancient code, he would be dead as well. Thus, Long Fei had to die. He had to follow them to the universal world. The young man didn't even look at Hong Tu's day. In his eyes, Hong Tu was like trash. Why would he bring a piece of trash away, and why would he help a piece of trash? Seeing that the man did not say anything, Hong Tu kneeled down and said, Master, I beg of you. The surrounding law gods all knelt down and kowtowed as well. The young man sneered, You trash don't even have the qualifications to beg me. What does your life or death have to do with me? Scram to the side. While they were talking, the man glared and crushed Hong Tuesday. Following that, the idea moved, its body emitting a golden light. It rained down from the sky. His body slowly floated up as well. At this moment, Long Fei's voice sunk as he roared loudly. I said it before. Don't even think about leaving. Boom! With a leap, he landed in midair, blocking the man's path. The man's face turned sinister as he said in a low voice, You're tired of living. You're courting death. The strength in his body exploded. Hong Tu became excited. Kill him, quickly kill him. With Long Fei dead, he no longer had anything to worry about. However, in the air, under the golden light of the firmament, Long Fei's gigantic silhouette moved, causing a loud explosion as it dispersed. Blood essences flew out one after another. It was densely packed, so much that it enveloped Long Fei's body. Moreover, all of them were soul blood-s. Over 1,000 drops, over 10,000 drops of soul blood. Each drop was a thick black color. The power that filled it was incomparably strong. Crazy. He had gone completely crazy. Long Fei really didn't want to live. The young man's face paled, and his body trembled. You. He was unable to say anything for a long time. Never. Even if it was in the universal world, no one would dare to release so many soul blood. Even during the war between the Emperor Xian and the god of underworld back then, no one dared to release so many soul blood. How crazy was this? The young man looked at the soul blood that was shrouding Long Fei's shadow. His scalp was numb, and his entire body was trembling. Fear rose up in his mind. Long Fei's silhouette expanded once again, and then, with his eyes wide open, he shouted, "Come!" Boom! A drop of blood essence fell down. It was imprinted on his body. Boom! Another drop of soul blood fell onto his body. In just a few seconds, tens of thousands of soul blood imprints onto his body. His entire body is also imprinted by the soul blood. Long Fei's afterimage also turned crimson red. He was like a demon. At this moment, 10,000 worlds were trembling, and God's tribe was trembling. Thank you for your support. 299 billion damage. 299 billion damage. Crazy, unprecedented crazy. He was going crazy with no regards for his own life. What was the use of dying like a brother? What's the point of a woman dying? What's the point of having your loved ones die? If the power of the ancient inheritance, the cultivation world of the dragon coffin, allowed him to become a calamity, and he was destined to be alone until the end of his life. If no one by his side has a good ending, then he might as well die. From God's martial continent until now, whether it was his brothers, his family, or the girls he liked, none of them had a good ending. They all died horribly because of him. Now, if the 8 of them were destined to protect him and die, then Long Fei did not want to live on his own. That was why he was going crazy. This time, he was not as berserk as before, but he was incomparably calm. If 10 drops of soul blood are unable to kill you, then 100, 1,000, and 10,000 drops will be used to unleash all the power in his body that can be converted into soul blood. As for the consequences, isn't it just death? Could there be any other tricks to death? In any case, he knew that he wouldn't be able to survive after the failure of the 7 luminaries' blood moons suffering in the 7 glorious blood prison. If one doesn't do it, the other won't. Play it big. The soul blood marks on Long Fei's body were densely packed and densely packed. It was as if his entire body was covered with a tattoo, and each of the soul blood marks shined with a blinding light. Strength. He couldn't believe that his shadow couldn't withstand the strength. The aura of strength crushed 100,000 planes to the point where they couldn't move at all. Even the other realms beyond that 100,000 planes, and even the countless planes in Universal Large World, were trembling. Furthermore, the God's tribe that was in control of the Universal Large World was also trembling. Heavenly Palace. It shook violently. What a strong power! What happened in the lower realms? Emperor Xian said softly as his eyes, which had been closed for hundreds of years, slowly opened. The trembling heavenly palace instantly came to a halt as well. A white-robed elder knelt on the ground and said, "It is still unknown, but I've already sent people to investigate." Emperor Xian closed his eyes again and said, "The release of this power was only. This kind of soul blood should self-destruct. There's no need to check. In any case, if he dies, the legacy should also disappear." Finished. Emperor Xian closed his eyes again. The old man in white said, "As you command." Everyone was curious. Just what kind of power could cause the countless planes of the world to tremble and could even affect the planes of the Universal Large World S? Others didn't know. However, they knew the God's tribe who controlled the power of the ancient inheritance very well. The power of the soul blood. Moreover, it was thousands and tens of thousands of soul blood's power released. So there could only be one outcome left to happen: death. No one could withstand the backlash of this kind of soul blood. No one. At this time, an old man in linen robes walked up, pinched his fingers, and lightly counted before saying, There are disciples of the blood vein of our God's tribe there. The white-clothed old man's eyes moved and said, Since you are a disciple of the God's tribe's blood vein, then even if the strength of the powerful soul blood erupts, you still cannot die. The old man said, I understand. He turned around and disappeared. Boom! A violent rumbling sound could be heard from Long Fei's body. In an instant, the young man was crushed to the point of kneeling down, and then was smashed back by this explosive sound. Kneeling on the ground, he was completely unable to move. But there was still no damaged figure floating above his head. It was the same as before, unable to cause any damage to his HP bar. The amount of blood remained the same. He wouldn't die. No matter how powerful the crushing force was, it was still the same. This was a hard wound. It was also due to the system's hard injury. The young man's head was crushed so low that he couldn't lift it up. His throat was hoarse. He said fiercely, Long Fei, you can't kill me at all. No matter how strong the Soul Blood's power is, it can't kill me. Understand? Our God's tribe is high and mighty. I am an immortal existence in this inferior world. Long Fei's enormous body moved, blasting downwards from the sky. Red flames were burning on his body. The sky darkened. The battleground ground beneath his body began to crack and crack, crack after crack, crack after crack, as if it was the end of the world. Can't kill him. I don't believe that I can't kill you, Long Fei roared. There's no such thing as absolute immortality in this world. 100,000 sovereigns, right? Paragon. He was also afraid of death. So what if you're a God's tribe? Let alone disciples who possess God's tribe S. Even the most powerhouse S of God's tribe S would die. No one didn't die. Long Fei did not believe that the so-called immortality was real. The so-called immortality was just because his power was not strong enough, like a defense. If your power could not break through the defense, then that was immortality. 10 drops of soul blood strength was not enough. What about the power of 10,000 drops of soul blood? As the young man saw an incomparably fierce flame crushing down on him, his throat felt dry and his mind trembled. His body couldn't stop trembling, and he was no longer confident in himself. The blood vein S of the God's tribe were supreme. In this lower realm, one would not die, but the power that Long Fei had unleashed was simply too frightening. The young man shouted in a deep voice, Ah! Rumble! 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 The 4 seas and the 8 wastelands exploded. In the void, many of the planets of death, without any law protection, directly disintegrated into ashes. The 100,000 planes were rapidly collapsing as well. And this punch, Long Fei directly smashed the imprint on the ancient inheritance between the young man's eyebrows. This power, flipping over the sky and landing on the ground, unparalleled. The young man's body was directly smashed into the center of battleground. The beast's ancient imprint on his forehead emitted a blood-curdling screech as it shattered. The young man also let out the same blood-curdling screech. At the same time, a number floated above his head. A bright red number. 999999999999999 over 99 billion damage. The young man's head was cut in half, leaving only one last drop of blood. 1 trillion HP. It was unimaginably terrifying. He had never encountered a boss with such high HP. This is the so-called God's tribe boss. That's not right. He was only a disciple who possessed God's tribe's blood vein. An ordinary disciple who couldn't be any more ordinary, yet he possessed 1 trillion blood essence. Too terrifying. Then what is the most powerful powerhouse's HP? At this moment, Long Fei did not think too much about it. Looking at the last drop of the young man's blood, his voice filled with rage, he said, Damn you, can't you kill him now? The flames of fury burned crazily. The young man's body turned black, his knees cracked, his mind, his consciousness, his ancient inheritance. Even he thought himself to be proud and aloof. The arrogant God's tribe blood vein S were all smashed apart by Long Fei's fist. Now, he was only a bit away from death. Trembling, cold, he started to tremble nonstop. The young man looked at Long Fei and said, Don't kill me, don't kill me. He was afraid. At this moment, The Reaper's scythe was already resting on his neck. Die. Long Fei did not waste any time. He simply punched down. Explode for me. Chapter 2191. God's Tribe Divine Light. Chapter 2191. God's Tribe Divine Light. Billions of HP. God's Tribe Blood Vein. Ancient Inheritance. They were all smashed into smithereens. Long Fei's ancient inheritance's power and the soul blood stimulation method had allowed his power to reach an unprecedented level. This height was unimaginable. Let alone him, even the Powerhouse S did not dare to imagine it. Who would think of Long Fei the lunatic? He didn't care about his life. After the final punch landed, Long Fei faintly smiled and muttered, "Whether or not it explodes is no longer important. What's important is death." The release of the 10,000 droplets of soul blood and the eruption of its side effects was something that the ethereal image was bound to be unable to endure. He did not regret his decision. If he was alone, it would be better to die fighting alongside his brothers. At least, he had been unworthy of him, of his brothers, of those who had died for him. Bring it on. Go to hell. Long Fei laughed wildly in a sinister manner. Ha ha. Yuan Ba, Sky Spirit, Aoya, my brothers, Jojo Luo, Shi, Queen of Blood Moon, Nangong Yin, my women. Long Fei is here to accompany you. Ha ha, ha ha. He laughed maniacally. He laughed maniacally. This life was worth it. He was just a loser on earth. To have such a wonderful life, he was satisfied for the rest of his life. His only goal now was to kill this God's Tribe boss. Long Fei's wild laughter resounded through the entire defense. Hong Tu and many other law gods were crushed to the point where they were forced to crawl on the ground. The same goes for young men. Kneeling on the ground, he frantically kowtowed, Don't kill me, I was wrong, I won't dare to do that again. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Ha! Didn't God's Tribe not kneel down to anyone? Isn't the God's Tribe supreme? Aren't you arrogant? Long Fei disdained him greatly, and shouted in the end, Die! A single punch. The young man used his last bit of strength and let out the pitiful cry he had before he died. Just at this moment. Buzz. Above 10th heaven, layer after layer of profound energy suddenly opened. Soon after, a beam of divine light from the heavens shone down, enveloping the young man. It was also at this time. Long Fei's fist came down. Buzz. It was the same powerful punch, but this punch, however, felt as though it had struck a steel plate and was blocked by a barrier. The young man thought he was dead. However, suddenly, he discovered that he was wrapped up by a protective barrier, and his health point was increasing crazily as the injuries on his body were quickly recovering. Even the ancient inheritance, his mind, his sea of consciousness, and the God's Tribe S had all recovered. Immediately, the young man was wild with excitement. He raised his head and looked at the divine light in the sky above the 10th heaven, his eyes flashing. The divine light of the God's Tribe. The divine light of the God's Tribe. Ha ha, I knew it. I am an existence that will never die, a person that I possess the God's Tribe's blood vein. And then, the young man immediately knelt down and kowtowed to thank her. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly. Staring at the divine light from the 10th heaven, his eyes turned sinister. He did not care about the God's Tribe's divine light or the God's Tribe's fart light. He would not be able to save the people he wanted to kill. Then, Long Fei's gigantic shadow moved, jumping high into the air. Another heavy strike at the young man. Rumble. This time, the power was even stronger. The young man laughed coldly and said, Now, don't even mention releasing 10,000 drops of soul blood's power. Even your soul explosion wouldn't be able to kill me. The divine light of the God's Tribe. Not to mention in this kind of inferior realm, it can even be said to be an invincible existence within the universal large world S. Long Fei wants to kill me. Ha ha! Come on, now that you can injure a single hair on my head, I'll change my surname to yours, ha ha. He was well aware of what the God's Tribe divine light meant. An invincible defense. Up till now, no one had been able to break it. As long as the God's Tribe did not fall, the defense of the God's Tribe's divine light was invincible. It was also because Emperor Xian was the strongest among all of the universal large world S. The scattering of the divine light from the God's tribe was because no matter what, the descendant of God's tribe would not die in the hands of an outsider. Even if it was trash, no matter how much of a waste it was, an outsider would never be able to teach it a lesson. No matter what he did, he wouldn't die at Long Fei's hands. Because of this, the young man could now brazenly and arrogantly start cursing. Indeed, although Long Fei's punch had become stronger, it was still the same. It was like a punch to a steel plate, and the rebound force made his entire body feel like it was about to split. Also, because it was the soul blood's powerful strength. Otherwise, Long Fei would already be dead. Ha ha! You can't kill me, right? Trash! You think you can kill me? Who do you think you are? The man excitedly laughed out loud. A divine light enveloped him as his body slowly floated into the air. He was leaving. He was about to enter the 10th heaven and return to it. Ha ha ha! Long Fei, come on, come again. If you don't, I'm going to leave. Ha! He was extremely pleased with himself. Extremely savage. Long Fei was also continuously attacking, and his power was also continuously leaking out. The leaked energy was not under his control, and it crazily rampaged outwards. From time to time, he would kill a person. Half a minute. The young man was already in the air. The soul blood's power inside Long Fei's body was showing signs of decreasing. Once it completely disappeared, he would have to suffer the backlash from the soul blood. But now, the boss was still alive. Anger raged in Long Fei's heart, but he still continued to attack without pause. However, it was unable to destroy the divine light barrier. Come on, come kill me. Aren't you strong? Aren't you going to go crazy? Come on, kill me. He was overjoyed. Seeing that Long Fei was getting more and more crazy, he became even more excited and said, I won't kill you, but you won't be able to kill me. Long Fei, your time is up. The hopes of the Dragon Manor and the Mu Clan S are about to be shattered. Long Fei and the Mu Clan S are also destined to be stepped on by my God's tribe S for life. Long Fei went crazy. The masochistic bombardment continued, but as the man slowly rose higher and higher, it became more and more intense. He was about to enter the first heaven. Once he entered the first heavenly layer, he would never have another chance. He would die. The boss would continue to act arrogantly. If I can't kill you, I won't stop even if I die. Long Fei was still continuously attacking, and the soul blood's power was still continuously leaking out. As long as they came into contact with a living person, they would instantly be crushed in a fine powder. The soul bead also absorbed the soul immediately, increasing its arrogant god energy value. If I can't kill you, then I won't die. I'm leaving, and you're going to die soon. Ha ha ha! The young man looked up at the sky. He was about to enter the first heaven. Once he enters the first heavenly layer, no one can kill him. He was getting more and more pleased with himself. Boom! The energy of the soul blood was once again wreaking havoc on Long Fei's body. Not waiting for one of the law gods to react, they were directly crushed into powder. God's tribe flew over and absorbed the soul. Suddenly, at this time, the system beeped. Ding! Chapter 2192. The Explosion of the Arrogant God Force. Chapter 2192. The explosion of the arrogant God Force from the moment Long Fei entered the battleground. From the moment the first person died, the Cloud Soul Holy Orb automatically flew out. It was as if it was not controlled by Long Fei, as it continuously absorbed the soul essence of the dead person. Whether it was the people from the main temple or Long Fei's side, they were all the same. He did not let any of them go. Other than the beginning of a few notifications, the soul bead had never sounded it before. A notification rang out all of a sudden. Long Fei didn't mind, because even now, he still did not understand the reason why soul bead absorbed the soul essence. And how would the increased arrogant god energy value be used? None of them understood. But the sound of this notification made him shudder. Ding! Arrogant god energy value plus 2 ding. System notification. Current arrogant god energy value is 998. 1,000 points can release arrogant god force. Until now, the system had never described anything about arrogant god energy value. Long Fei had thought that this energy values was useless. Even if it was useful, it would have to wait for him to enter the universal world to show it. But now, Long Fei's heart sank. 2 more points to release the arrogant god force. And what kind of power is the arrogant god force? Can we kill this boss? Can we even reach the 10th heaven? He took a look at the system and saw that there was still no description. However, Long Fei no longer had a choice. Under the protection of the God's tribe divine light, Long Fei really wasn't even able to harm a single hair on the boss. Seeing him being so arrogant and proud inside the divine light barrier, the anger of Long Fei's 8 generations of ancestors burst out. If he didn't want to die, Long Fei wouldn't be satisfied even if his soul was destroyed. Even if he had to sacrifice everything, he still couldn't kill the boss. F***CK. Suddenly, Long Fei's gigantic shadow moved, bending over and charging towards the ground. The young man was startled, then immediately laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. Are you scared? Trash, you can't kill me now, right? Fight with your father? Are you fucking qualified? Are you worthy? I'm a disciple of the God's tribe's blood vein legacy. How can trash like you compare? You still want to kill me? Humph. The young man became even more pleased with himself as he watched Long Fei fly towards the ground. He knew that Long Fei couldn't do anything to him. Even with strong soul blood power, it was useless. Long Fei did not speak. He didn't want to waste his breath. Boom! With a huge explosion, Long Fei's gigantic shadow landed on the ground. Looking at the soul bead floating beside him, it was the result of the explosion from Great Devil of Soul's body. According to him, this soul bead was a sacred object of the soul world. Isn't it? Long Fei wasn't sure either. However, right now he did not care whether the soul bead was a sacred object or not. He just wanted the arrogant god energy value. The instant he landed, Hong Tu's expression changed drastically as his body trembled frantically. The surrounding law gods didn't even have the intention to escape as they kneeled on the ground and kowtowed continuously. Long Fei, we don't dare to do it again. Long Fei, we were wrong. Spare us. Now that our power of laws has collapsed, our current cultivation is like mortals. I beg of you to spare us. Hong Tu also kowtowed and said, Long Fei, from now on, you are the ruler of 100,000 planes. You are the heaven of 100,000 planes. I will never dare to fight with you again. Spare us once. Even though he said so on the surface. However, Hong Tu was very clear in his heart that Long Fei was strong now, but once the energy of the Soul Blood's backlash appeared, Long Fei would definitely die. At that time, he would still be a sovereign from the 100 planes. Even though he currently didn't have control over the power of law, he was still the strongest existence among the 100,000 planes of existence. As long as he had time, he would be able to comprehend the power of law. He could still firmly control 100,000 dimensions in his hands, and could even possibly become an outer disciple of the God's tribe. As long as Long Fei died, everything would come to fruition. So what if he kneels now? As long as he was alive, he was the winner. However, Hong Tu did not understand Long Fei from the start. The enmity must be avenged. If you give me a punch, I'll give you 10 slaps, one that will drive you to your death. Long Fei did not continue with Hong Tu as well. A ray of scarlet energy enveloped Hong Tu and the others. Hong Tu immediately realized that the situation wasn't good. He leaped up and shouted loudly at the same time, Master, save me. The young man sneered and said, a bunch of trash kneeling down before attacking. What use is there having a trash like you? Humph. It was extremely disdainful. He seemed to have forgotten the scene where he knelt down. The young man still said disdainfully, Long Fei, you're only qualified to kill these trash. Explode. Long Fei shouted out one word. In the blood mist. With a burst of power, those gods that had lost their power of law instantly exploded. Hong Tu, who was flying in the air, fiercely slapped down from the sky as he shouted, Die. Boom, boom, boom. Streams of blood mist burst out, and Hong Tu's body also heavily exploded. In front of Long Fei, who had the strength of a soul blood, he did not even have the slightest bit of leeway to retaliate. His entire body exploded. At this moment, the soul bead floating beside Long Fei directly flew into the blood mist. He continued to crazily absorb the energy. Ding! Arrogant God energy value +1. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Hong Tu for obtaining 1 billion experience and 1 billion holy power value. Congratulations. Long Fei immediately filtered out the notifications. Now, even if the main artifact were to be revealed, it would not be of any use to him. What he wanted right now was not the main artifact, but the arrogant God force. Ding! Arrogant God energy value +300 points. Ding! System notification. Arrogant God energy value up to 1,000. Release? F*CK. Long Fei let out a loud roar. Release. At this moment, it rose up from the ground and rushed towards the sky. Seeing Long Fei rushing towards him again, the young man's face was still filled with disdain and said, "Trash, I already said that you can't kill me, yet you still dare to come. Are you looking for a beating?" However, at this moment, a strange power suddenly burst out from Long Fei's body. He had never used his will before. Long Fei also did not have the time to understand the nature of this power. Clenching his fists into a hammer, he swung it down towards the young man's head. Just what kind of power was the arrogant God force? Long Fei didn't know. He didn't know if it could break the God's tribe's divine light. But Long Fei knew that this boss must die. Rumble! A massive explosion shook the sky. At this moment, Universal World's heavenly palace, a high platform, suddenly shook. The God's tribe divine light above the young man's head exploded and quickly fragmented. The young man was stupefied. At this moment, Long Fei struck out with lightning force once again, and another fist struck down. 100 billion damage directly floated up above the young man's head. In an instant, he was reduced to dust. Is that it? No. After killing the young man, Long Fei raised his eyes and looked at 10th heaven as he roared out, "Die!" Charging towards 10th heaven. Thank you for the support of each genuine subscription, brother. Thank you. Chapter 2193, 10th Heaven Break. Chapter 2193, 10th Heaven Break. The young man was just a small, nameless disciple of the God's tribe. He only had God's tribe blood vein S. The God's tribe had existed for millions of years, and their children and grandchildren were even more so, an uncountable number. Disciples like him were countless beyond measure. Even so, he was still a member of the God's tribe. Just based on the God's tribe blood vein on his body, not just anyone could humiliate him. Anyone could kill him. Thus, the powerhouse of God's tribe within the universal large world immediately made his move. The main door of the 10th heaven opened. The God's tribe's divine light had an invincible defense. However, what they did not expect was that the God's tribe divine light suddenly broke, causing all the killing God altar in the heavenly palace to shake violently. Killing God altar, destroying his soul, destroying his mind and consciousness, and shattering his divine spark. Its power was unprecedented. The divine light of the God's tribe was also released from the killing God altar, let alone a lower realm. There was not even anyone in the universal large world that could shatter the God's tribe's divine light that it released, let alone cause such a huge commotion in the killing God altar. The sky palace shook violently. Numerous caves of the powerhouse of God's tribe flew out. What happened? Why is the killing God altar shaken so much? Just what kind of power is it? Could it be that a new inheritance has appeared in the ancient world? What happened? In less than half a second, a dozen powerhouses who were in closed-door seclusion floated above the killing God altar. These people were all at the peak of universal large world. Existence of the super powerhouse. The old man's forehead was covered in sweat, while his mind was filled with fear. He did not think that the small lower plane would have such a powerful force. He bowed slightly and said respectfully, Elders, it is the power of the soul blood. It is just that this ancient inheritance has failed to transcend the tribulation, causing it to go crazy and release all the soul blood in its body, which is why it has caused such a huge shock. Elders, please be at ease. It won't be skipping for long. As soon as he finished, many powerhouse in the sky slightly trembled. Soul blood. Someone from a lower plane managed to cultivate the soul blood's great technique from the ancient inheritance. It's just a pity that we failed to transcend the tribulation. Otherwise, we could have been recruited into the God's tribe. What's the pity? The ancient inheritance should all be in the hands of my God's tribe people. How dare a trash from the lower realms cultivate the ancient inheritance? He deserves to die. Have you checked it out? Just which family's descendant is he? Only the families of the ancient world are allowed to pass down the ancient inheritance. There was no doubt about that. Be it the lower planes or the universal world, they all shared the same principle. The hempen-clothed elder immediately said, "Yes, it's the people of the Long Residence." Dragon Manor? Wasn't the Long Residence stepped on by our God's tribes until they couldn't even breathe? Don't they have to suffer heavenly tribulation every 3,330,000 years? What is it? The Long Residence is still alive? Dragon Manor. None of the powerhouse present were unfamiliar. The families in ancient world, just that, they've been stepping on him all this time, trying to stay alive. The old man said, "I have yet to investigate this." A young disciple asked, "Could it be the crystals of the Dragon Manor and the Mu Clan-S?" It seems, when the Long Residence obtained an ancient inheritance, no one was able to bear the inheritance. The seal was placed on an infant's body, allowing that infant to grow up along with the ancient inheritance. Is there such a thing? The Long Residence still hasn't given up? You want to fight with our God's tribe? Just with trash like them? Just what kind of inheritance is it that even Dragon Lord Long Zhanting cannot endure? The disciple replied, Long Zhanting is no longer the Dragon Lord. The current Dragon Lord is called Long Wutian. As for what kind of inheritance it is, even the Dragon Manor and the Mu clan do not know. Long Wutian. There's no sky. In my opinion, it should be called Dragon Kneeling Heaven. Disdain could be seen on the faces of the elders. He didn't even put the Long Residence in his eyes. An elder said, "Then the person who destroyed the God's tribe's divine light was this brat?" Logically speaking, even the power of soul blood would not be able to shatter this divine light's defense. The hempen-clothed old man's face tightened. He could not understand this question either. Why was that? Unless the power of the ancient inheritance was unleashed to its peak, no matter how strong the soul blood's power was, it would not be able to shatter the God's tribe's divine light. The old man said, "I have yet to investigate this." He had seen it very clearly in the killing god altar just now. Other than the power of the soul blood, there was another tyrannical power. But what kind of power was that? He didn't know. Never seen it before. Rumble. Suddenly, the killing god altar trembled again, but this time it shook even more violently. Everyone shivered. Many powerhouse-s descended and stood on top of the killing god altar, staring at the scene, their eyebrows knitted together and their faces turned angry. A mere commoner dares to charge at the killing god altar? Just now, Long Fei soared into the sky with the remaining power of the soul blood. Bringing the arrogant god force with him, he broke through the sky. This was also the reason why the killing god altar was in such a state. To kill one would be to kill two would be to kill, and to kill 10,000 would be the same. To Long Fei, killing one was enough, but killing two was enough. He knew in his heart that his father had high hopes for him to live through the Dragon Clan's counterattack. Although his mother had never seen him before, she had always helped him clear the way. She loved him dearly, as a son of man. Right now, the only thing he could do was to kill as many people as possible from the god tribe. Rumble! He rushed to the second heavenly layer. The void trembled violently. This made all the powerhouse of God's tribe angry. Challenge the 10th heaven. Charge to killing god altar. This person is either crazy or retarded. Killing god altar. So far, no one had been able to break through. It was a huge soul treasure in itself. It was a treasure that was nurtured together with the Emperor's Xian. In a trillion years, its power was incomparably terrifying. Breaking through it was practically impossible. However, just as everyone was laughing at Long Fei, another loud explosion rang out. Third heavenly layer was once again stepped on by Long Fei. Every time he broke it, his afterimage would take an incomparably powerful heavy blow. However, Long Fei seemed to not have felt any pain at all. There was only one word in his world: kill. So what if you're a god's tribe? So what if you're a killing god altar? If you don't accept it, then let's do it. Since he was going to die anyway, Long Fei was going to throw caution to the wind. Many of the powerhouse of God's tribe's expression changed, anger growing in their hearts, daring to barge into the 10th heaven. If we don't teach him a lesson, how will we save face for him? Where is the might of the heavens? A mere trash from the lower realms dares to be so arrogant in front of us. You overestimate yourself. Kill. Where's Skyguard? Huh. In an instant, with a move of the empty sky shadow, 2 rows of warrior S in golden armor appeared. On each of the armors, there was a carved word: sky. Rumble. 4th heavenly layer. An elder coldly shouted, "Kill him." Haiyang explained what happened yesterday. My upload time was 12 p.m., but due to my error, the audit failed. In the afternoon, I modified it and uploaded it, but the print operation editor was always offline, so the audit couldn't be completed, so the update didn't appear. It was such a thing. I also knew that when the climax came, everyone would be so anxious to wait. I called to urge them and sent a message to them, but they still couldn't settle it in the end. Haiyang was extremely sorry. Besides, to those who were scolding them, they were all raised by their parents, so they had to be generous with their words. Chapter 2194, Instant Kill. Chapter 2194, Instant Kill. How audacious. He wanted to rush into the 10th heaven. Furthermore, he had broken through under powerhouse of God's tribe's watch. How crazy was this? The entire palace shook. At the same time, the entire universal large world was also slightly shaken. Countless powerhouse watched from the air. This is too crazy. Who is this? Could it be that the person with such power is someone from the ancient family? Even the people from the ancient family would not dare to challenge the God's tribe. I have to admire his courage, of course. He will soon be a dead man. So, the God's tribe was too strong. It had been standing in the universal large world for billions of years and had mastered all of the inherited powers within the ancient world. It could be said, the God's tribe was the Zhizun of the universal large world, an unshakable existence. In the universal large world, the God's tribe represented the sky. Against the heavens, there was no good ending. Long Fei's bravery, fearlessness, and savagery did not attract much praise. It was instead filled with disdain and mockery. Of course, Long Fei did not mind at all. In his words, "Who do you think you are, with so many people looking down on me?" Boom! Without waiting for Sky Guard Warrior to descend, the 5th heavenly layer was stomped under Long Fei's feet once again. He looked up at the 10th heaven's gate and roared out loud, "Ah, the God's tribe is amazing, right? Today I will kill all of you idiotic God's tribe." Boom! His speed didn't decrease at all as he madly charged forward. It was also at this time. Buzz. But streams of golden light fell down, blocking Long Fei's path. They were just like the heavenly weapon gods General S that appeared in the movie world. All of them were powerful and extraordinary. The power in his body was an existence that could not be shaken. Strong, extremely strong. He was countless times stronger than the young man from before. A leader of the heavenly guards pointed his spear and shouted, "Kill!" The 16 guards rushed forward. Golden light pressure. The power released by the 16 spears formed a net of energy. There was nowhere for you to hide. Long Fei also did not think of hiding. The word hide was not in his dictionary. His figure moved. The combined power of the arrogant god force and the soul blood exploded out. "All of you die?" A scarlet wave of light burst out from his body, forming a crescent moon. Without waiting for the spear to fall, their bodies were instantly cut in half, instantly killed. Long Fei didn't even spare them a glance. Another charge. Boom! The 6th heavenly layer. Crazy. Extremely crazy. The 16 sky guards were instantly killed, not even bothering to look at them. What kind of power was this? Not to mention the powerhouse that were watching from the sky. Even the high and mighty powerhouse of God tribe had expressions of shock on their faces as they frowned. This! Many people were shocked, speechless. Sky Guard warrior. Although they did not have God's tribe S or blood vein S, they were still S who stood at the peak of the entire palace, possessing incomparable power. The golden light around their bodies was an unbreakable existence. If placed anywhere, it would be considered an overlord. However, such a powerful Sky Guard warrior was actually killed by Long Fei in an instant. Moreover, this was a power that could instantly kill 16 Sky Guard warrior S. How fierce was this? How sharp was this? Long Fei's power was suffocating. Too fierce. What was that power just now? It is definitely not only the soul blood's power, but also some other power. Just what kind of power is it? Is it the power of the ancient inheritance? The 16 guard were instantly killed. This power. Are you sure it's that infant from the Long residence? The killing god, Alter, was in a bit of a panic. The power Long Fei displayed was too powerful. Of course, those powerhouse of God's tribe in the sky that did not land on the ground were shocked. They did not panic like what was happening below. They were also thinking. One of the white-beard ancestors asked indifferently, "Junior brother, have you seen this power before?" An old man in the distance shook his head. "I have experienced 3,000 tribulations in the ancient world, but have never encountered such power." That's strange. Logically speaking, the ancient world is the center of the universal world, and is also the place where the universal world is born. How can a power that hasn't even appeared in the ancient world appear in a lower plane? At this time, the junior brother said, "Senior brother, why don't I go up and give it a try?" At this moment, one of the descendant of God's tribe S stepped forward and knelt. "Two ancestors, this disciple is willing to go." White-beard ancestors glanced at the young disciple and said indifferently, "All right." And then, with a flick of his finger, a ray of light enveloped him as he said, "This is a protective power that can protect you from death. Go." The young disciple was pleasantly surprised and immediately kowtowed in thanks. "Thank you, ancestor." Then, he flew straight down from the killing god Alter and roared loudly, "Trash from the lower plane, give me your life." At this moment, Long Fei roared out once again as he withstood the pressure that came crashing down on him. With a clash of power, he forcefully broke through to the 7th level of the refinement realm. TL. Anger. One strike. Without even waiting for the young disciple to descend, he was directly struck by the power of Long Fei's body and shattered into pieces. Another instant kill. Moreover, it had been instantly killed by the protective power released by an ancestor. This made even more people shocked. "Madman, he's definitely crazy." The killing god Alter was even more shocked. "Should I ask the Emperor Xian? It's just a phantom, yet it's so powerful. Who are they? It's impossible for the Dragon Manor to have such a powerhouse." Whitebeard ancestors was still very calm and not panicked at all. He only narrowed his eyes slightly. "Senior brother, can you see any clues?" Others might not know, but he knew it very well. That power just now was not some protective force, but a type of force. The moment it came into contact with a person's body, one would be able to sense the attributes behind it. Whitebeard ancestors pondered for a moment and said lightly, "I have never met one, but this kind of strength is a bit like the power of the soul realm, but it's not complete. However, what I'm sure of is that this power is extremely powerful." He had never seen it before either. This was a new power. Of course, the soul bead combined with the god's power that was nurtured by the system. How could he possibly have met it? Rumble. At this moment, Long Fei had broken through to the 8th heavenly layer. However, the shadow began to shrink, its strength clearly unable to hold on. Not only was the soul blood's power weakened, the arrogant god force was also weakening. Looking at the final 2 levels of cultivation, Long Fei tightly clenched his fists, and the strength in his entire body began to burn crazily. Charge again. Not dying, not stopping. It was also at this time. The killing god altar was in an even more panicked state. He's still charging. He's still charging. Whitebeard Ancestors was slightly angered and shouted, "What's the point of panicking? We are God's tribe. How can we be shocked by a mere mortal from the lower realms? All of you go down and block him. Kill." Who else? Last layered heavens. Who else? Last layered heavens. Long Fei's body had JoJo's blood essence. There had also been blood essence of the 8 King Kong before. Now, they were all gone. Then, Long Fei wanted to rush to the highest point in the world with their blood essence and crush everything with their blood essence. Life and death. If he didn't act arrogant once, how could he call it life? This was Long Fei's last bit of madness. Attack 10th heaven, still 2 levels away. JoJo, Yuanba, Sky Spirit, Aoya, I will show you the sunrise of another world. Long Fei tensed up and continued to attack the 9th heaven. The power from all directions of the 9th heaven surged over. Crazy crushing. Long Fei felt an enormous pain, but he did not frown at all. He was still using his strength to attack. 10th heaven, I will definitely break through. I will definitely let you see the sunrise in another world. I definitely will. Long Fei roared in his heart. He roared crazily. Again and again he attacked, and again he attacked. The powerhouse in the sky were all dumbfounded. The 8th level, the first in history. Who is he? He came from that plane? It can't be an inferior plane, right? They were definitely powerhouse S of the ancient family S, but they were just... What exactly can't you understand and want to rush into killing God altar? 2 groups of people were instantly killed. If this power really was the power of the ancient inheritance, then the God's tribe would really be in trouble. Trouble? Haha. You simply do not know how strong the God's tribe is. Didn't you notice that the powerhouse of God's tribe S on top of the killing God altar didn't even move? If they ever make a move, that person would directly die. I'm afraid they want to know what kind of power could be so savage. Discussions were rife in the air. In another place, in the infernal realm, Long Zhanting looked up into the sky, and the corners of his eyes were moist. He clenched his fists tightly, his nails digging into his flesh. Fresh blood dripped from between his fingers drop by drop. It was as if he couldn't feel any pain at all. No pain could match his heartache. Fair. Long Zhanting clenched his teeth and said it out loud. Seeing his son like this made his heart feel as if it was being torn apart. What was even more painful was that there was nothing he could do. A father watching his son suffer, unable to do anything, was an incomparable pain. At the other end of the void, it was the same for a beautiful woman. It was just that. She burst into tears and burst into tears. Dragon Manor. Many powerhouse raised their heads to look at the sky. Their expressions were one of shock, and some of them were indifferent. Looking at what was happening under the Killing God altar, most people felt that it was a pity. The current Dragon Lord Long Wutian was furious, his face filled with rage. Foolish, extremely foolish. The Dragon Manor spent such a huge price to place their hope on you, but you don't know how precious it is for you to dare to fight against the God's tribe before the power of the ancient inheritance has even fully activated. You're extremely foolish. Too disappointing. His voice was filled with boundless rage. This caused him to be extremely disappointed. There was no regret at all. Even if the Long residents paid a huge price to cultivate Long Fei then, Long Fei was only a pawn in Long Wutian's eyes, a pawn that allowed the dragon residents to rise to power. That year, when they obtained the ancient inheritance, it was also because everyone present was unable to cultivate, which was why they thought of passing it down to Long Fei, who was just born, so that he can grow up together with the ancient inheritance. It would slowly open up. However, the ancient inheritance on his body had yet to be completely activated, and no one knew what it was. Under these circumstances, Long Fei became emotional and immediately started fighting with the God's tribe. there would only be one result: die. If Long Fei was here, he would definitely give Long Fei a fierce slap. And then Long Wutian's face shook and said in a gloomy voice, "There's no need to rely on him. He's already a dead man. We spent such a huge price to nurture him, gave him ancient inheritance, and, in the end, humph. This matter requires someone to bear the consequences. Someone come. Send my order, summon Long Zhaning back." If he did not insist on letting his son enter the lower planes, this would not have happened. They have an inescapable responsibility. The few elders wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, they stopped. "Dragon Lord, what if he doesn't come back?" Long Wutian's eyes darkened and said, "If he dares to not return, then we will directly sentence him to deceive our master and exterminate our ancestors and never step into the gates of the Dragon Manor ever again." Bullying his teacher to exterminate his ancestors? This crime was not a normal one. The entire hall shook slightly. Many people's faces changed. The old man said, "Yes, I will do it immediately. Also, send someone to the Mu clan and ask them to hand Muwaner over. This is what the husband and wife are doing, and it must be borne by the both of them." Long Wutian said fiercely, rumble." The ninth heaven shattered. Long Fei stepped forward. 9 heavens. He was only a step away from 10th heaven. Long Fei slowly spoke in his heart. "There is still one more stage left. Jojo, we are about to reach the 8 Vajra body." And at the instant when Long Fei broke through to the 9th heaven, the surrounding space shook and a buzzing sound exploded. Dozens of presbyter of God's tribe S and disciples all landed at the same time. Killing intent filled his eyes. Their bodies exuded an incomparably ferocious power. These people all had God's tribe blood vein. They all had that immortal defense on them, just like the defense on the young man. "Trash, stop!" Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's eyes widened, his body moved, and suddenly landed in front of the descendant of God's tribe. Grabbing his throat, he raised him up in the air and smashed him hard onto the ground. Rumble. The ground cracked. The God's tribe on the descendant of God's tribe's body directly shattered. The long gash on top of his head also instantly disappeared. Instant kill. Domineering beyond compare. Long Fei muttered to himself, "Today I'll take you all to hell, kill all of these God's tribe dogs." And then Long Fei roared, "Come." Who the F **K wants to try saying trash again? Although it was just an afterimage, the domineering aura that erupted from Long Fei crushed everything. Even these powerhouse of God's tribe were also crushed. Whitebeard ancestors shouted, "Kill!" Dozens of powerhouse of God's tribe rushed over at the same time. Long Fei used all of his strength for attack, without any form of defense. In the mad slaughter, powerhouse of God's tribe would fall every time he attacked. At the same time, his strength was also being consumed at a crazy rate. One man against 60 or 70 powerhouse of God's tribe, and this was a trend. Although Long Fei was also heavily injured. But the more he killed, the fiercer he became, and the more he saw the blood rush to his head. Boom, boom, boom. One powerhouse of God's tribe after another fell. 67 powerhouse of God's tribe S fell to the ground in a matter of minutes, dead or wounded. No one was able to stand up. Long Fei raised his head and roared. Who else? At this moment, his body charged forward and charged towards the final layered heavens. Chapter 2196, The Explosion of the Second Arrogant God Force. Chapter 2196, The Explosion of the Second Arrogant God Force, Extremely Arrogant. 67 powerhouse of God's tribe S were defeated by Long Fei. The last line was who else, and it was an arrogant and domineering lawless. He looked at the final heavenly layered heavens. Long Fei did not stop. With one leap, he roared towards the sky. Open for me. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The heaven and earth shook violently, and the entire killing god altar trembled. It was as if the connection between the sky and the earth was the same as Long Fei's image. How preposterous! This is too presumptuous. A mere mortal is too arrogant. In the air above Killing God altar, a few God Tribe Ancestor Realm experts were starting to get angry. No one dared to be rude to God's tribe. Furthermore, no one dared to be arrogant in front of God's tribe. Long Fei arrogantly brought about murder, completely not putting God's tribe in his eyes. He was not slapping the people from God's tribe in the face, but pressing them down and using his feet to pant heavily. If he were to continue acting arrogantly, how could he still have any face? What was the dignity of the God's tribe? Immediately, Whitebeard Ancestors' eyes turned sinister as a cold light flashed in them. We absolutely cannot let him break through to the top 10th heaven. Killing God altar. It was born together with the Emperor Xian. It was also a symbol of the God's tribe. If they were to be broken through, it would be even more embarrassing than losing dozens of powerhouse of God's tribe. Will be laughed at by the ancient family. It would shake their rights. At this time, that junior Marshall Brothers figure moved and said, "I'll do it." Chua. A figure flashed and rushed into the Killing God altar. The instant Long Fei landed on he coldly snorted, "Lowly ant, just give up." Long Fei looked up. He was far above everyone else, and his body was glowing with a golden light. The aura from his body was like a huge ocean, constantly churning and roaring. A true expert had appeared, of a God's tribe ancestor. More than an expert, he was simply a supreme expert. However, Long Fei was not afraid. He sneered sinisterly and said, "Stop? You want me to give up just like that? Who the fuck are you?" Boom! His voice was filled with a strong sense of power and energy, directly blocking the power and pressure released by the powerhouse of God's tribe. That person's eyes narrowed. "You ignorant fool! You are courting death." A shout. The huge shadow pressed down forcefully, and the golden sword in his hand slashed out tens of thousands of rays of golden light. With a light stab, the sky and earth changed color, and rumbling sounds could be heard non-stop. What a strong power! Having been in closed-door training for so many years, Junior's cultivation has increased quite a bit. Ha ha ha! The power of this move could be said to be even stronger than the combined power of the 60 to 70 powerhouse of God's tribe S. Long Fei's illusory image darkened. He was somewhat unable to endure this tremendous pressure, and his illusory body was constantly collapsing, but he was also unable to endure it. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions sounded. Long Fei's current position was about to be blasted down from the 9th heaven. A mere mortal dares to fight against the heavens? Who gave you the courage? Dragon Manor? The Move family? The ancestor bellowed out, the pressure on his body surging further. The light on the golden sword shone even more brightly as it pierced towards Long Fei. So what if I have an ancient inheritance? So what if we can release the soul blood? This world is controlled by us God tribe. You think you can overturn the heavens? You're not qualified. Accompanying this heavy figure, Long Fei's illusionary figure began to shrink more and more, and the energy of the soul blood and arrogant God force on his body were also being consumed more and more. He was about to be unable to take it. However, Long Fei had never been someone who was afraid of death. Never been afraid. Even though he was being suppressed by a powerhouse who was countless times stronger than him, he still did not cower. In life, at most, one would die. Since life and death were indifferent to it, he might as well do it if he refused to accept it. What's more, he had to break through this 10th heaven. He had to let Jojo see the world above the Killing God altar and watch the sunrise from a whole new world. Cluck, cluck. Long Fei gnashed his teeth, the aura around his entire body forming an extremely strong impact. At this moment, just now, the soul that the soul bead absorbed increased the arrogant God force to 1,000 points. The soul of the powerhouse of God's tribe was too powerful. The number of arrogant God forces increased by a lot as well. Bring it on. Long Fei's body sank. Not waiting for the first arrogant God force to be exhausted, his heart was moved. Activate. Ding. System prompt. Release arrogant God force. Yes, sir. Long Fei didn't have any hesitation. However, the system did not immediately release the arrogant god force. Ding! Dangerous notification. The player's body still has the remaining arrogant god force. If activated twice, the player's body won't be able to take it. Ding! Dangerous notification. The player's body is too weak, unable to withstand the second arrogant god force. Please be careful. Ding! Dangerous notification. The player's body is too weak, unable to withstand the second arrogant god force. Please choose carefully. The system flashed a red alert. Long Fei's body was currently extremely weak. Not to mention, he was just an afterimage, and his weakness was not enough to describe the current Long Fei. But if you don't accept it, then do it. Long Fei was already giving it his all. He knew very clearly that it would be hard for him to escape death, even if he had to charge through the 10th heaven. Even if he died, he would die a little. That's it. Release. Long Fei ruthlessly let out the second arrogant god force, ignoring the system's reminder. In that instant, the second arrogant god force was forcefully activated by Long Fei. Moreover, because this arrogant god force was produced by absorbing the souls of the powerhouse of God's tribe, it became even more ferocious. In that instant, Long Fei's body, which he could not withstand anymore, suddenly stood up. Raising his head to look at the crushed old man, the corners of his mouth curled up as he sneered, "Die." At this moment, the old man's heart trembled, and for some reason, fear arose in his heart. In all these millions of years, there had never been a single feeling of fear in his heart. But just now, his mind went cold. When he saw the sinister look in Long Fei's eyes, fear emerged within his heart. However, his current cultivation could instantly crush the fear in his heart. Looking at Long Fei, who had steadied himself, his strength increased even more, and in this instant, he released a drop of the Soul Blood's power. The strength of Soul Blood. Isn't this making a big deal out of nothing? Do we need the strength of Soul Blood to deal with this kid? Can't be. Looks like this lowly ant soul is about to shatter. Can the Patriarch use the power of Soul Blood? Not many powerhouse in the universal large world could withstand it. Long Fei. Can the Patriarchs of Killing God alter all revealed looks of disdain? The existence where Long Fei was definitely going to die. However, in that instant, Long Fei stood in place without moving, completely using his own illusory body to resist. He had absolutely no intention of retaliating. The instant the attack landed, Long Fei moved his arm, heavily grabbing the old man's neck, and let out a sinister sneer. Chapter 2197. Kill one whenever one comes. Chapter 2197. Kill one whenever one comes. Rumble. Long Fei's figure trembled. This power was too powerful, but Long Fei was able to withstand the attack. Moreover, the moment the old man landed, he grabbed his neck, glared at him, and with a sinister light in his eyes, he excitedly laughed out loud. "You don't have the qualifications, right? Then Lousy will let you know what qualifications are." While they were talking, Long Fei punched the old man hard in the face. Boom! The old face twisted. His nose burst open, and blood spurted out from his nose. It came too fast. Furthermore, no one had expected Long Fei to take the Soul Blood's attack head-on, and even more so, no one expected him to be able to withstand such a powerful attack. He could even turn around and grab the old man's neck in an instant. The old man was also a powerhouse of God's tribe's ancestor level. How could he not resist after taking such a heavy punch? However, he was stunned and could not react for a few seconds. What's going on? Junior apprentice brother? How can I be restrained by him? What the heck is he doing? How did he withstand that attack just now? Junior brother, several patriarchs hollered. However, it was as if he hadn't heard. It wasn't that he didn't want to resist. It wasn't that he didn't want to escape, but the moment his strength neared Long Fei, it was completely suppressed. Pressure. He was much, much stronger than him. He was like an ant that had been nailed down, unable to move. Is this punch qualified? It's not enough, right? One more punch. As soon as Long Fei finished speaking, another fist ruthlessly struck forward, this time directly blowing out one of his eyeballs. Half of his face had caved in. Is that enough? Is the God's tribe that amazing? The God tribe is far above us, right? Now I'm still stepping on it. Long Fei punched again and then fiercely smashed his neck onto the ground. Rumble. The ground cracked. The old man's body shot forward. Without waiting for him to stand up, Long Fei stomped his foot ferociously on the ground, raised his head and looked at the sky, and said with a heavy voice, "Are you qualified now?" While they were talking, his right foot slowly lifted. He aimed at the old man's head. Whitebeard Ancestors' expression changed greatly as he roared loudly, "Brat, you dare? Stop! Brat, you're dead for sure." Whitebeard Ancestors' figure landed and immediately rushed down. At the same time, another clan elder powerhouse rushed down. The imposing Chi attacked again and again, smashing right at Long Fei. Long Fei grinned coldly and said, "There is nothing in this world that I, Long Fei, do not dare to do." As soon as he finished, his right foot stomped down heavily. Crack! The head was shattered, and brain matter splattered all over the floor. The body of the patriarch powerhouse twitched a few times and then became stiff. Dead. The system beeped. Long Fei didn't care. He was too lazy to care. Now, even if he dropped something even more powerful, it would be of no use to him, and he wouldn't be able to use it. Dead. The God's tribe's ancestor-level powerhouse died, just like that. Oh my God. This. In almost 10 million years, he should be the first God tribe to die as an ancestor-level powerhouse, right? Just what kind of gunpowder did this person eat? Isn't this too fierce? Fuck, I can't find any words to describe his ferocity. There are a lot of powerhouses that we have swept away, but now, even ancestor-level powerhouses have been stepped on. This God's tribe's face is the same as that powerhouse's, as he ruthlessly trampled on the ground. Too awesome. In the air, each and every powerhouse was incomparably shocked. His mind was shocked. However, even if Long Fei were to kill an ancestor powerhouse, the result would still be the same. Long Fei would definitely die. He would die miserably. That person should be a third-generation God's tribe ancestor. The two people coming down now are the second generation. They are the real powerhouse. There's two of them at once. That kid definitely can't hold on. Sigh. What a pity. What's a pity? A mere lower plane person died, just like that. What's a pity? I'm saying it's a pity that he possesses such strength. If I had this kind of strength, I would definitely find a place to cultivate in seclusion and cultivate my strongest strength. At that time, who would I need to be afraid of? In the end, he's still too young. You don't know how to cherish your life. If you die, you would have nothing left. That's right. In the 9 heavens, time seemed to come to a standstill. Whitebeard Ancestors looked at his junior brother who was stepped on by Long Fei until his brain exploded. His face turned white again, then red again, then purple again, and finally black. Anger. It was like a volcanic eruption. The moment his power stopped, an incomparably powerful force exploded forth. In an instant, the 5 drops of soul blood landed, causing Whitebeard Ancestors to move. "You dog, return my junior brother's life." The other patriarch let out a powerful roar as well. Die. Similarly, releasing the power of the soul blood, the 2 second-generation patriarchs attacked at the same time. This was a very rare sight in the universal large world, and one that could be used against a lower plane. This was the first time. Long Fei removed his right leg from the brain and looked up at the sky. 2 gigantic figures came crashing down, and the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. He casually said, "Come, let's kill one. Give me a pair, I'll kill a pair. Who wants to obstruct your father's path? What dogs hit God's tribe? Even if it's the heavens, your father will still ruthlessly trample them to death." His body sank slightly. Then, rising up from the ground, he fiercely charged forward. Rumble. The strongest explosive power of the wild god. He had to fight 2 second-generation clan ancestor-level powerhouse alone. Just a moment ago. That's it. Moreover, Long Fei, this madman, did not even bother to defend, allowing the 2 ancestors' attacks to strike onto his body. In that instant, you injured me 1,000 times. The ancestor's fist caused you 10,000 points of damage. Long Fei was just like that. It shot from the ground into the sky. In the end, it directly reached the limits of the 9 heavens. He kept attacking the 10th heaven. Just a little more, just a little more. The instant the white-beard ancestors' attack landed, half of Long Fei's thigh shadow was sliced off. It was also at this moment that the arrogant god force that had been brewing for a long time exploded out of Long Fei's right fist. Rumble! He punched white-beard ancestors in the chest, his body striking the 10th heaven, causing him to slightly crack. Poochie! White-beard ancestors spat out a mouthful of thick black blood. The energy aura around his body dissipated, as if he couldn't withstand the violent attack of the raging god's power. While he was sick, he wanted to kill her. Long Fei seized this opportunity, and his body suddenly straightened, directly landing in front of the white-beard ancestors who had not recovered from the shock. Both of his fists started to rain and storm. Die! At the same time, he muttered to himself, soon. Jojo, it's going to be soon. 8 Vajra, it's almost here. Chapter 2198. Emperor Xian's Attack. Chapter 2198. Emperor Xian's Attack in Another World. Universal Large World. It was even the center of the Universal Large World, the highest point of the gods' tribe, the heavenly palace's killing god Altar S. It was about to break. Soon, he would be able to see the sunrise in another world. Jojo, 8 Vajra Gate. I'll be looking for you guys soon. Long Fei muttered. His fists continued to strike at white-beard ancestors, causing the amount of blood on white-beard ancestors' head to decrease manically. At the same time, another ancestor powerhouse was also continuously attacking Long Fei. Long Fei acted as if he did not care. Catching one meant beating it to death, never stopping. That was the basic rule of his fights. No matter how strong you are, no matter how many people you have, I'll catch one and fight to the death. Stop! Stop! Poochie! Walala! Whitebeard ancestors spat out blood. Even though he was a second-generation patriarch of the gods' tribe, he could not withstand Long Fei's attack. He had never met a madman like Long Fei. Right now, only half of Long Fei's body remained, even though it was just an illusion. But Long Fei would still feel the pain of his body splitting apart. It was as if he couldn't feel it at all. Stop. Stay your mother's hand. Isn't your god's tribe strong? Didn't your god's tribe look down on everything? Isn't your god's tribe the center of universal world? How are things now? Is this great? Haha. Long Fei said crazily. The power in his hands did not decrease at all. The white-beard ancestors could not hold on any longer. His entire body was being crushed by the strange power from Long Fei's body. The kind of power was like a god's tribe which specialized in imprinting its power on him. He couldn't take it all. The other ancestor powerhouse was even more dumbfounded. Seeing Long Fei's painless expression, he started to doubt if his attacks were effective. What do you want? Let me go. I have everything for you. God's tribe has everything. What do you want? Even if you only have one more shadow left, our God tribe will still have a way to reconstruct your body as long as you stop. Whitebeard ancestors said anxiously. If he didn't stop now, he would die. But he did not understand Long Fei at all. Long Fei laughed sinisterly. I don't want anything. I want your life. I want to stomp your God's tribe dog to death. Ha! Reconstructing his body. What do you want? What's the use? Could he exchange it for his brother? Could it be exchanged for Jojo's life? Could it be exchanged for everything? No. Furthermore, Long Fei already had the determination to die, because his brother died, his relatives died, and his woman died. Right now, he had no one by his side, so what was the point of living? He wanted to die. However, before he died, he wanted to charge out of 10th heaven and take a look at that world with Jojo's blood essence and the 8 Vajra blood's essence. Enough! Whitebeard ancestors was trembling in fear. Madman, madman, you are a madman. Ah, Emperor Xian, save me, Emperor Xian, save. Without waiting for him to even say the last word, Long Fei's fists were like hammers, heavily smashing down, directly smashing Whitebeard ancestors' head apart and causing blood to splash all over his body. The 10th heaven also cracked. Just a little bit more, and it would have been destroyed. At this moment, the other powerhouse once again swept with his powerful strength, cutting off half of his abdomen. The current Long Fei, according to his height, only had a third of his body left. Long Fei's gaze darkened. His right hand moved. He directly grabbed that person's neck, fiercely smashing into the 10th heaven, throwing out a punch. "It's your turn." Bang, bang, bang. A lightning-like attack. The powerhouse was also instantly crushed by the arrogant god force released from Long Fei's body. He cried out in pain, and, at the same time, he was also crazily shouting, "Emperor Xian, save me! Emperor Xian, save me!" This was too crazy. The second-generation patriarch of God's tribe was killed just like that. Was he even human? Everyone in the wild universe was dumbfounded. The majesty of the God's tribe cannot be desecrated. But on Long Fei's body, the God's tribe's pressure and face was like a dead dog's, as they were ruthlessly stepped on by Long Fei. How fierce was this? Moreover, the 10th heaven was about to break. Killing God altar began to shake violently, and shattered rocks fell down, almost unable to take it anymore. The Killing God altar is about to collapse. My God, how is this possible? Isn't this too crazy? The power is too great. The second-generation patriarch-level powerhouse was killed just like that. This is completely against common sense. Even my scalp is tingling from watching this. Countless people were dumbfounded. Long Fei had assaulted the Killing God altar, crushed the entire powerhouse of God's tribe, and killed one of them, then killed a pair. This time, it was a huge mess. Even the Killing God altaress that came at the Emperor Xian were about to explode. You know, the Killing God altar was also an ancient spirit treasure of the ancient world, and it was about to break. Then how strong was the power contained in Long Fei's body? Long Fei had exploded all the way since the first heaven, and now that the first 10th heaven was about to collapse, the second Killing God altar would as well. Emperor Xian, help me. The second-generation patriarch-level powerhouse was still calling for help. No one can save you. Die. The first 10th heaven explode. Long Fei roared towards the sky, using the last of his mad god's power to blast outwards. Right now, he was like a withered old man. He couldn't even breathe properly. A punch exploded. The powerhouse lost his last bit of HP. At the same time, the first 10th heaven began to crack as well, piece by piece, just like the scene when a layer of ice split apart. A faint light scattered down. It was like the spring wind. It was light and warm. Long Fei secretly laughed and said, "So this is the universal world? Jojo, did you feel it? Yuanba brothers, did you guys feel that? This is the aura of the universal world." One of them was faster while the other was faster. The sky cracked as the light from the universal world shone down. It felt incredibly good. Come, let's enter the universal world together and see what's different in this world. Long Fei smiled. His body could no longer hold on. However, suppressing the pain with all his might, he leaped into the air. Long Fei wanted to rush to the S and rush to the Killing God altar S. However, at this moment, rumble. The color of the heavens and earth changed. An enormous illusory image floated above the Killing God altar, and a pair of ice-cold eyes stared at the half-destroyed illusory image of Long Fei, staring at him in the eyes. A cold light shot out like a pillar. The pressure was like the heavens. In that instant, Long Fei's silhouette was enveloped in a cold light. It was also at this time, all the descendant of God's tribe S in the heavenly palace kneeled on the ground in unison. Emperor Xian, Jizun of the universal large world. He was also the strongest person in the universal world. A gaze fell, and an ice-cold voice said, "You will never step into the 10th heaven, ever." Who won? Who lost? Who won? Who lost? You will never be able to enter 10th heaven. Never. The voices came from all directions. The 10 days and 9 stages began to shake crazily, The god-killing power beneath the killing god altar started to surge. The Emperor Xian was high above, his figure glowing with a golden light. He was like a great emperor. He looked down on the world with contempt, eternal and undying. With just a glance, he completely crushed Long Fei. Long Fei, who only had a third of his body remaining, was fundamentally unable to endure it. The disappearance of the raging god's power and the disappearance of the soul blood's power meant that there was not the slightest hint of power within the illusionary body. His body began to sink. Just a little more. Just a little more. Long Fei was still fighting with all his might. He wanted to let Jojo see a completely different world. He roared again. The afterimage of Long Fei rushed forward once again. He did not bother with the Emperor Xian. He only wanted to take a step forward. With one step, he would be able to step onto 10th heaven and see the world on 10th heaven. However, Long Fei had not even stepped foot on it yet. Yet another bolt of heavenly lightning came crashing down. Rumble. Bang. He heavily smashed onto the body of the illusory Long Fei, causing his body to sink and crack. He was unable to hold on and could no longer hold on. He landed on the ground of the 9th heaven. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Long Fei gasped for breath. With a sinister look, he charged again. He did not care about the Emperor Xian's coercion. He just wanted to rush up to the 10th heaven, and take a look was enough. One look was enough. When it once again hit the air, the Emperor Xian disdainfully sneered and said indifferently, "I said it before, you will never be able to step onto the 10th heaven. Forever." Boom! The shadow of the Emperor Xian moved. A powerful strike came down and firmly crushed half of Long Fei's illusion on the ground. He was nailed to the ground like a nail. The pain came. Even if Long Fei had the arrogant god force, he still had an existence that he couldn't resist against. It was truly a power that was like the heavens. The Emperor Xian descended. Floating in the air above 10th heaven, he looked at Long Fei with an ice-cold gaze and said, "You think you can withstand God's tribe? You think that you can rise just because the Dragon Manor and the Mu clan have placed the ancient inheritance on you? Humph! You want to overturn the heavens with just these? You overestimate yourself." Emperor Xian's voice was ice-cold and filled with disdain. He had never even looked at Long Fei, because Long Fei did not have the qualifications to do so. He is the Emperor Xian. He is the Ji Zun of the universal large world. You want to defy the heavens? The Dragon Manor is not good. The Mu clan is not good. Any ancient family is bad. A mere lower realm person. You think killing a few powerhouse of God tribes is impressive? Trash. You're too weak. In my eyes, your life is not even comparable to a pile of dog shit. I won't step on dog shit, and you... As soon as the Emperor Xian finished speaking, rumble. In the air, a gigantic foot lifted up high and stomped down heavily towards the half-shadow of Long Fei. Crack! Crack! Lightning raged and space distorted. Layer upon layer of cracks began to appear. Long Fei looked up at the sky. The flames of fury soared to the sky. A gush of steam rose. Long Fei clenched both his fists tightly, with an exceptionally determined look in his eyes. He enunciated word by word. "If I hadn't died today, I would have definitely killed you." Anger, hatred, and killing intent madly interweaved. Emperor Xian sneered and said, "In this world, there is no one who can kill me and bring me down to the underworld. Even if we enter the Yellow Springs, the Yellow Springs' great emperor will still be crushed by me. I'm a paragon. 10 days, 9 days. As soon as he finished, he stomped heavily on the ground. Long Fei did not close his eyes and did not let out any screams either. Even with his gloomy eyes, he looked at the sky, looking at the gigantic illusion of Emperor Xian. He had to remember this face. Even if he died, he had to remember. Inscribed in the heart, branded on the soul. He had to remember this face. Because, as long as he didn't die, he would definitely take revenge. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Enormous sounds exploded one after another. Long Fei's silhouette was stomped down from the 9th heaven's floor all the way. When the 9th heaven exploded, it went from 9 to 0. Long Fei's shadow was hit back into the battleground, and his body was dissipating. Above 10th heaven, Emperor Xian glanced at Long Fei coldly and said indifferently, "You're overestimating yourself." Then, his gaze flickered as it swept out in all directions. "Do you really think the powerhouse of God's tribe can die that easily?" Humph! With just him, all of the powerhouse of God's tribe who were killed by Long Fei stood up at the same time. Whether it was their cultivation or the God's tribe's blood vein they all recovered in that instant. It was the same for the three patriarchs of the powerhouse instant revival. Those powerhouse who were watching from the sky were dumbstruck. What secret skill is this? Can revive the dead? This Emperor Xian's cultivation has already reached such a terrifying realm? It looks like no one in the universal large world can kill him now. Graham is sovereign. Immediately, the powerhouse who were watching all knelt down in unison and kowtowed down. Honorable Hong Meng, Supreme Hong Meng, eternal and eternal, all worshipping at the same time. They also felt slightly relieved. If even they couldn't do it, how could a mere mortal from a lower realm do it? All of this was because the Emperor Xian wanted to humiliate the Long residents. It was just a farce. In the universal world, the God's tribe was the ruler, an unshakable existence. The Emperor Xian is the absolute ruler of this world, the most powerhouse. Emperor Xian swept his gaze over them, and then glanced coldly at Long Fei, who only had a little bit of his shadow left before turning and disappearing. However, a few seconds later, Emperor Xian's voice sounded from the heavenly palace. "Cleansing Dragon Manor, Mu Clan. Find all families that support them, clean them up once, and let them know the consequences of provoking our God's tribe." His voice was filled with rage. If he did not make a move today, a mere mortal would break through the 10th heaven, causing the God's tribe's prestige to be greatly damaged. If this matter was not resolved, who knew how many people like Long Fei would appear? "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." In the heavenly palace, everyone shouted in unison. Sky Guard warrior flew out, rushing out from all directions. "Junior brother, do you feel that something is wrong?" After reviving, the white-beard ancestors felt that something was amiss, but he did not feel that something was amiss. Not just him. Everyone who was killed by Long Fei had the same feeling. He felt his body becoming strange. Suddenly, an old man from the God's tribe suddenly said, "My universe ring is missing." It was also at this time. A young disciple added, "Mine is gone too." "Mine too. My space ring still has a lot of God's tribe's elixir pills. I still have quite a few magic weapons." The three patriarch-level powerhouse also immediately felt it as their expressions changed. Similarly, their space ring was also gone. Whitebeard Ancestors' expression was the ugliest as he said solemnly, "My earth destruction gobbledygook. It's gone." Chapter 2200. Is this too awesome? Chapter 2200. Is this too awesome? What is the system? The system is killing drop. These people were all instantly resurrected by the Emperor Xian with powerful techniques. However, their deaths had happened before, so the ones that needed to be exploded open again. Furthermore, under the urging of the arrogant God Force, Long Fei didn't explode anything else but the space ring. In other words, 75 powerhouse of God's tribe were all killed by Long Fei. They could be said to have robbed everything. Most importantly, the 70 to 80 of them did not even know what had happened, much less dare to ask Emperor Xian. He could only swallow his food, not letting anyone discover it. Battleground. The last shadow of Long Fei disappeared. His life had come to an end. He wasn't willing to accept this. If he managed to break through 10th heaven, he wouldn't be unwilling, and it wouldn't matter even if he died. But the appearance of the Emperor Xian, the crushing pressure of the Emperor Xian and the words he had said made him feel unhappy, and it caused the anger in his heart to soar to the skies. "You want to crush your father? I'm going to roll back here. If you laugh at me, I'll laugh back at you." Especially those words that Emperor Xian had said, You will never step into 10th heaven. Never. This caused him to feel stifled rage in his heart. After the blood from his own shadow disappeared, Long Fei said in a heavy voice, "If you let me borrow another life, I'll make the entire God's tribe kneel down and sing a song of conquest. Lend me another life. Let me borrow you for a lifetime." Long Fei was not begging the heavens, nor was he kneeling. He was looking for the system, from a striking system to the current abnormal system. Every time Long Fei entered a new plane, the system would level up again. How did the system come about this? Who created it? Long Fei didn't know. But if all of this was compared to a game where everyone was a player within a game, then the creator of the game would definitely be able to change everything within the game. Because he was a GM existence. He could make a player omnipotent. The system was the same. Long Fei stared at the system for the last time. Looking at the 60 to 70 space ring floating in the air, he muttered to himself, "I beg you, please lend me another life. Since you chose me, you don't want to see me die, right? Please lend me your life again. I want to stomp over the entire God's tribe." Long Fei held back his anger in his heart as he spoke in a heavy tone. However, no matter how Long Fei begged and how angry he got, but the system did not reply him at all. Finally, Long Fei's heart sank. He could feel a cold aura approaching, and he knew that he was going to die. He didn't even have the qualifications to become a ghost in this kind of way. As a ghost, he might be able to rely on his father to reincarnate and fight for his entire life. However, with the side effects of the soul blood, the forceful eruption of the arrogant god force, and the power of the Emperor Xian, everyone knew that Long Fei could not live past this point forever. Even the Emperor Xian knew clearly that it was impossible for Long Fei to have another chance to reincarnate. Thus, Long Family Seal plan failed. No matter how many times I face death, I don't care. I've never been afraid of death. To be able to live till now and have such a wonderful life as a Jiaoxi guy on Earth, I've struck it rich. In the past, Long Fei didn't think much of it. It was because he felt that he had struck gold. Even if he died, it would still be worth it. There were brothers who lived together with life and death, and there were even the most beautiful women in this world. There was the protection of family, the love of parents, and all the impossible things that had happened in this alternate world. I can't make any more money. But now, Long Fei was unwilling, because he had disappointed his parents. I let my brother down. He had disappointed thousands and thousands of people who supported him. He was unwilling. He wasn't willing to die just like that. And there was still one more boss that he hadn't taken down yet. How could he be willing? I can't accept it. I am willing. Long Fei roared. In the end, his world went dark. He could feel everything falling apart. The cultivation technique he cultivated, the items he used to explode, everything he controlled, everything was falling apart. He also felt that he was falling into darkness. It continued to sink. Endless darkness engulfed him. Suddenly, a light flashed. A painting appeared in front of him, floating around him. It was a picture of a beautiful woman. Although it was only a painting, the woman in the painting was the most beautiful person Long Fei had ever seen. What shocked him was, the woman in the painting actually spoke. "Long Fei, you were originally an ancient divine dragon that was nurtured by the ancient world. When the ancient world opened its primordial chaos, your stubborn dragon started to stir in all directions." Long Fei was a little confused when he heard her. Damn, what and what? Why do I have an ancient dragon birthed by the ancient world? And here I am, Jinyo. He didn't understand it all. The words of the girl in the painting made him completely confused. He was an ancient dragon born from ancient world. Then this means that he was born with the ancient world? So awesome. The woman in the painting could not hear what Long Fei was saying at all. The lady in the painting continued. "Due to you stirring up trouble in all directions, you caused chaos to the perfection of ancient world, resulting in you to be sealed by a force of 9 heavens, the seal. Imprisoned for billions of years. When the seal on your body disappears, you stubborn fool, once again messing up the ancient world, causing the ancient inheritance to become disordered and the Ming clan to be born. In order to help ancient world perfect the entire wild universe, the power of 9 heavens will once again return you to your original form. Due to your disturbance, the ancient world began to move towards an unstable trajectory. The gods' tribe appeared and fought a great battle with the Ming clan. In the end, the Ming clan lost. Expulsion from a situation forever restricted from entering the universal world. Your imprisonment is released again. Fight against the gods' tribe and cause the dragons you nurture to die out greatly. Long Fei was stunned again when he heard this. Emotions were all caused by me. Ming clan was the entire gods' tribe caused by me. Damn, I was so awesome. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart, and then he asked with interest, and then what the F***CK? No matter what I say, she won't hear me. The girl in the painting continued. It's also because of your recklessness and your rebelliousness that the dragon race almost perished. In that battle, you were even more so blasted to death by the powerhouse of God's tribe. However, your soul and the soul of the ancient world were linked together, causing it to be indestructible. In order to prevent you from messing up the perfection of the world, the power of the 9 heavens planted a legacy on you. This inheritance will allow you to endure countless tribulations and erase your stubbornness. I also let you endure the passing away of your family, your brothers being killed, and your women being robbed of all sorts of cold and painful experiences in the world, allowing you to perfect your missing soul. So Laozi is really that awesome? My soul is actually connected to the ancient world's soul. Awesome. Chapter 22:01. A New Journey Begins. Chapter 22:01. A New Journey Begins. Long Fei was shocked. It had to be known that the entire universal large world was birthed from the ancient world. He was born together with the ancient world, and his soul was even connected to the soul of the ancient world. How amazing was this? If it were to be revealed, no one would believe it, let alone others. Even Long Fei himself didn't quite believe it. Isn't this too much? In your previous life, you were destined to be the bane of all, making it impossible for any of you to escape. As you experience the cold warmth of the human world, kinship, friendship, love, brotherhood, and so on, you will be reborn. The woman in the painting paused here. Long Fei's mind was startled and suddenly shook. I could be reborn again? Big sister God, don't lie to me. I didn't take that Gulong seriously, but I did. Long Fei was like grabbing onto a lifeline in the vast ocean. He wanted to live. He wanted to see his mother. He wanted to see the person who saved 8 King Kong. He wanted JoJo. He wanted to stomp the entire gods tribe to the ground and make them sing a song of conquest. If possible, he also wanted to know the origin of the system. The girl in the painting continued. In the previous lives, you have experienced and tempered your mind. After your mind matures, you will be able to recover the strength of the ancient dragon. Long Fei, this is your path to rebirth, and also the path to your rise to prominence. Clean everything up and start over. After you find the 7 girls you need. Saying this, the picture that was floating in front of Long Fei started to burn. Long Fei saw this scene in his previous lives, Zhou Xingqi's Grand Tour, but it was just that. The woman in the painting was Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and the person she faced was a monkey that did not know his own strength, and now it was right in front of him. He had to say it. Long Fei himself was a little confused. He didn't know if this was an illusion he made when he died, or if this was really happening. All 7 women? Who is it? There's no such thing as a story, even a westbound tour. It's just that when Monkey's son meets the person who gave him the 3 moles, why do I have to find 7 women? Long Fei did not understand. Seeing that the painting was almost burnt up, Long Fei became slightly anxious. Immortal sister, you want me to find all 7 women? You should give me some information too. What do they look like? What are their names? No matter how Long Fei asked, the lady in the painting did not say a single word. Finally, this picture had always been burned away, and Long Fei's world once again turned into darkness. At this moment, Long Fei's heart turned cold, and he immediately cursed. Damn, I knew you were lying to me. You said that I was reborn. What about now? How come there's no rebirth? There was no change at all. Darkness was still darkness, and his body was still sinking. Long Fei was not happy. He felt that he had been played. Suddenly, a woman flashed across Long Fei's mind. Sleeping Beauty, who had been sleeping in his space ring all this time. Her sudden appearance caused Long Fei to shudder. Sleeping Beauty? The Sleeping Beauty giggled. Master, Long Fei asked, why are you here? Aren't you among my space ring? His body was still in the seven glorious blood prison. His flesh was already rotten, and Long Fei wasn't sure if the space ring would rot either. The Sleeping Beauty giggled. Master, I'll wait for you at Universal World. Your star book, Holy Buddha, gobbledygook, and that black box, I'll bring them to you at Universal World. Master, you have to find me. Definitely. Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, the Sleeping Beauty suddenly disappeared. At this moment, the dragon coffin also suddenly appeared in Long Fei's mind. I will also wait for you in Universal Large World. Whoosh! Disappeared. Huh? Dragon coffin can speak? The heck? Long Fei was so shocked that he was a little stupefied. He had never heard the dragon coffin speak before. These were all powerful things. They too were collapsing. However, Long Fei had entrusted many feelings towards them, so much so that when they collapsed, scenes would appear. 3 gobbledygook S. Dragon Coffin Cultivation World. Finally, the soul bead also flew away and disappeared. This thing, Long Fei's mind tensed up. Arrogant God Force, this F** King Invincible Strength, I will definitely find you. And then, it continued to crumble. Long Fei's mind also started to become clearer and clearer. After it became clear, it disappeared. His memories began to be drawn out crazily, one after another. It was like cleaning his brain. Everything was changing. The only thing that was unchanged was the system in his mind. It had always been there, and everything within the system was still there. For example, the space ring S that exploded from the bodies of the gods tribe S. For example, parasitic spell level *10. Another example was the system's previous lottery draw. Due to the level difference, the lottery was still ongoing. As long as the system was here, nothing would be a problem. Long Fei secretly clenched his fists and said, no matter what, I will always find them one by one. Wait! Everyone wait for me! Rumble! A deafening noise shook the sky as Long Fei's consciousness seemed to have been cut off. He could not feel anything at all. Is he dead? Or rebirth? No one knew. In another place, on Battleground, 8 King Kong stood unmoving, like 8 solid stone pillars, heavily standing still on the ground. Their bodies were densely covered in blood, and it was a tragic sight. They had endured Long Fei's soul blood and anaphasic force, and this was far stronger than the blood essence that Jojo had endured. The 8 of them had no aura. The instant Long Fei's shadow disappeared, the entire battleground started to collapse. Next, the 8 of them also began to sink into the endless darkness. The critical point of the 100,000 planes. Husky looked up into the sky and muttered, Long Fei did not succeed in extradition, but this 8 King Kong, even if I have to risk my life, I still want to successfully extradite it. Roar! A powerful force enveloped the 8 of them. He suddenly retracted his sword. Husky moved, transforming his body into a boat, and entered the Sea of Time. 8 King Kong's body was lying on his back, swimming toward the other side of the Sea of Time. Devil Island. On the cliff, the ancient Fire Soul's blue flame bird drilled into Jojo's body, and Jojo's body began to burn. The blue flames seemed to burn the sky. Her body turned into ashes, and within the ashes, there was the shape of a phoenix tears. Finally, the ancient Fire Soul let out a powerful roar. Blue flames engulfed the phoenix tears, and it shot towards the sky. Disappeared. Phoenix Nirvanic Rebirth. The 5th time, Jojo also disappeared. In the infernal realm, a dragon palace elder stood in front of Long Janting. Long Zhanting's eyes were filled with tears. Long Fei was dead. His son had died. He was the king of hell, but even so, he could not feel Long Fei's existence, which meant that Long Fei was dead. In the entire universal large world, whether it was the Long residents or the Mu clan, everyone believed that Long Fei had died. Nothing about Long Fei could be felt. It disappeared forever. However, a new journey had already entered the universal world. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2202, Xinyu Sect. Chapter 2202, Xinyu Sect. Mystic Moon Mountain was lush and verdant. 10,000 miles into a sea of forests. On top of the forest, there was a huge mountain. From the foot of the mountain to the peak, there was a winding and rugged road that led upwards. Mystic Moon Mountain, Xinyu Sect. It was an unremarkable little sect in the Zhenwu continent. However, within a 100,000 kilometers radius, the Xinyu Sect held absolute authority. They were like overlords. It was also the temple that many young disciples looked up to. Zhenwu continent, an unremarkable plane in the universal world. Here, the presence of the martial arts training was stronger than any other place. The young disciples all wanted to fight for the top spot amongst the many carp that crossed the river in the martial arts training. Cultivators, the identity of a successful fighter. He turned his hand into a cloud and his hand into rain. His strength could reach the heavens. Long life. This was the goal of every fighter, to become a cultivator on the rugged mountain path. This year, I will definitely succeed. I will definitely become a disciple of the Xinyu Sect. Me too. I heard that this year's assessment will be relaxed. I wonder if it's true or not. I heard about this too. I heard that this year, Xinyu Sect was bestowed the title of Gua Tribe by the Zhao royal clan and was bestowed the title of Gua Tribe. The royal family invested a large amount of resources to support them and also allowed them to absorb a lot of talent. Is that true? How can that be false? I have an expression on my face that I work for at the palace. He told me himself. He immediately lowered his voice and muttered, I heard that Xinyu Sect's master's daughter will become the princess consort, and because of this, Xinyu Sect will be bestowed the title of Gua Tribe. Otherwise, Xinyu Sect really wouldn't have enough power. The Zhenwu continent was vast and boundless. Xinyu Sect can only rule over 100,000 kilometers, but a single dynasty, yet was able to rule over tens of millions or even trillions of kilometers. Zhaogua, within 60 million kilometers. The country was strong. In the entire Zhenwu continent, forces were also in the upper echelons. The upper sects of the Zhenwu continent were numerous, but it was different from the other planes. Here, even the most powerful sects would not be able to fight against the government. The imperial government, to put it simply, was also a sect. It was just that it controls far more cultivation resources than a single sect like yours. The court's ability to cultivate wouldn't be any worse than your sects. More importantly, the character of the imperial government and the sects were not the same. Cultivators in the sect pursued the limits of martial Tao and longevity, spending most of their time on cultivation. The warrior cultivated by the imperial government were all used to fight for territories, slaughter, and prepare for wars. The imperial government was getting more and more powerful. Furthermore, the royal family that controlled the imperial government was a super powerhouse, which meant that Zhao Guo's royal family, the Zhao clan, there were 15 powerhouse with Zhenwu realm. This was an existence of supreme cultivators. Even if it was a Xinyu Sect, they were only one person. Moreover, they were in the initial stages. Their strength was on completely different levels. On the mountain path, discussions were rife. It was soon the recruitment examination day for Xinyu Sect, and there were many young warriors who came to take the examination on the mountain road. Amongst the crowd, an ox cart was slowly moving forward. The cow was a large and sturdy buffalo, and the carriage was made up of a few pieces of wood. There were 3 people in the carriage. To be exact, there were 2 of them, and one of them was lying on the ground. The driver was an old man. The old man was similar to the old man in the manner. There was no difference at all. The other one was a 15-16-year-old girl. He wore a black ponytail, two big black eyes, and a pair of small freckles near the bridge of his nose. It was the type that was hard to look at. Anything more mature should look better. The one who was lying down was a 16 to 17-year-old boy. He had delicate features and was somewhat handsome. However, his brows had always been locked together, and his face was alternately flustered and happy. It was like a nightmare. The girl hid her cheeks and stared at the unconscious boy, muttering, "The Shinyu sect is almost here. He's still not awake. Father, do you think they will agree?" As he spoke, there was a secret lock between his eyebrows. He looked worried. The old man did not turn around. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. Others might not know it, but the girl knew it very well." Although Shinyu sect had expanded his recruitment this year, the exam was even more difficult than last year. The sect's strength didn't just depend on its eyes. Rather, it required the infusion of a genius. On the surface, the Shinyu sect appeared to be incomparably glorious, as if he was sealed as a Gua tribe. However, in reality, it was as if he was treading on thin ice, and the slightest carelessness would lead to eternal damnation. The girl looked up at the sky and muttered, "We're here." The old man turned around and looked at the boy lying on the ox cart. He sighed softly, At this moment, "Get out of the way. Get out of my way. The seventh prince has arrived. All of you, stay far away." In the distance, the four clouded leopard charged over, clouds forming under their feet. Their speed was extremely fast. This was a demon beast famous for its speed. Aristocrat's favorite pet. Using them to pull a sedan chair was a very eye-catching thing. Under normal circumstances, it was only a clouded leopard. The fact that four of them appeared at once meant that this person's identity wasn't simple. However, this rugged mountain path was not wide in itself. The four clouded leopardess could barely squeeze through. Moreover, these beasts were extremely strong, and they did not care about the people on the road. All of a sudden, the people on the mountain road were in a complete mess. Many of the young disciples were directly sent flying, and some even had their limbs broken. The man in gorgeous clothes sitting on the pride laughed out loud. Fun, really fun. Smash them to death. Smash them to death. Ha ha! He laughed wildly. On his palanquin, there were two beautiful women dressed in gauze. They looked extremely charming as they sat in his embrace, completely unaffected by his actions. When the men laughed, they became even more charming and began to giggle. Bam! Help, help! People were constantly being knocked down a mountain, and many people were fleeing in panic, causing chaos on the mountain path. The girl on the ox cart frowned as she looked at him with displeasure. Aren't these people being a little too crazy? These clouded leopard have never been tamed before. They would crash into others whenever they see them. Just look at how many times they flew in the blink of an eye, how others look at the Shinyu sect. Why didn't the mountain guarding elders stop it? The old man sighed, but didn't reply. He looked at the big buffalo in front of him and said, "Qingyo, hurry up." He didn't want to cause trouble. Moreover, as he walked along the mountain road in this big ox cart, let alone four clouded leopard, even if he couldn't squeeze a single one, there would definitely be conflicts. However, just because he didn't want to cause trouble didn't mean that others didn't. Some people especially liked to cause trouble, such as the seventh prince. Chapter 2203, Long Phase Awakening. Chapter 2203, Long Phase Awakening. The seventh prince, who was on top of a proud son, was displeased when he saw that an ox cart in front of him had started to gallop at a rapid pace, and was even faster than his clouded leopard. The speed of a leopard could not compare to that of an ox. Wasn't this humiliating him? Moreover, what was the identity of the clouded leopard, and what was the identity of the water buffalo? How could he let the buffalo walk in front of him? Seventh prince grabbed the thorny whip in his hand and whipped it fiercely, saying angrily, "You can't even catch up to an ox? What's the use of keeping you all alive?" Pot! The whip shot out horizontally in a blur. The backs of the four clouded leopard were lacerated, and a line of blood appeared on them. To be able to whip four demon beasts like this, it was either the person's cultivation level was good or the whip was spiritual energy. The four clouded leopard's bodies trembled. He was extremely afraid of this whip, so he did his best to catch up. The seventh prince laughed excitedly. Chase after them, knock them out. Ha ha ha. As he spoke, he picked up the wine pot and took a sip, becoming even more excited. The girl in the ox cart said, Father, what are you afraid of? The old man did not answer. The water buffalo's eyes were filled with boredom. It was also a little displeased. He purposely slowed down a bit. The old man's pupils moved as he shouted, Azure ox, what do you want to do? The eyes of the green ox lowered slightly as it sped up its pace. It was just that just now, they had suddenly slowed down, allowing the four clouded leopard to catch up to the ox cart. Seventh prince became excited and said, Bang, 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 bang. How dare they block my way? Ha ha, roar, roar, roar. The clouded leopard also let out a sinister low roar, and the two clouded leopard pounced towards the ox cart. The girl was shocked, and she let out a scream. At this moment, the teenager on the ox cart suddenly trembled. His eyelids twitched, and he opened his eyes. At the same time, the young man's body suddenly sank. He didn't know how he had exerted his strength or how he had turned around. He threw the ox cart, causing it to fall from the air. Boom! The ox cart turned around. The two oxen glared at him. Pressure. Beast might. The two clouded leopard immediately retreated as if they were impotent. The other two were the same, but they suddenly stopped. The palanquin rose up abruptly, as if it was about to fall off. Seventh Prince's expression darkened. His right foot slightly moved, and a stream of power poured into his foot. The mountain pressed down, causing the entire palanquin to stop. Although he stopped, his expression was extremely displeased. The whip in his hand whipped fiercely, heavily slapping the four clouded leopardess. Trash. You really became trash after scaring the head cow to this extent. Clap, clap. With flesh lacerated, the clouded leopard let out a painful low roar. The old man quickly got off the carriage and hurried forward. He bowed and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's all my fault that this beast crashed into your carriage. While they were talking, the old man kicked the green ox and shouted, You're crazy. The seventh prince sneered and said, Since you know that you've offended me, then I'll let you off this time. The old man immediately said, Thank you. Without waiting for him to finish, the seventh prince said, You and I can let him go, but this ox must be dealt with by me. I haven't eaten beef in a long time. Since this cow is so strong, the meat quality should be very plump. The seventh prince chuckled, and, as he spoke, he drew the sword at his waist and lightly leaped up. Without waiting for the old man's approval, he slashed his sword towards the green ox's neck. If this strike were to hit, the azure ox's body would definitely be split into two. The girl jumped down from the cart and stood at the neck of Qingyo. She spread her arms wide and said, You are not allowed to hurt the water buffalo. The old man's eyes became anxious. The corners of the seventh prince's mouth curled up as he smiled sinisterly. He didn't hesitate in the slightest before slashing down in midair. Even if the girl blocked, her strength still wouldn't decrease. In his eyes, what was a man's life? You're not allowed to hurt the water buffalo. I forbid you. He didn't know why. The voice sounded familiar. The youth in the carriage sat up and looked around him, then at the sky, and then back at his hands. His head was aching, and there was nothing there. Blank memories? Nothing. Nothing. It made him a little flustered. Who am I? Where is this? No memory at all. However, the girl's voice caused his body to tremble slightly. This voice was very familiar to him. An image appeared in his mind. A quiet girl, a girl with two dimples on her face when she smiles. A girl who had always cared for him and called him young master. Jojo. But who was this girl? He couldn't remember, but he could feel an incomparable intimacy, an incomparable familiarity. It was a very important person in his life. In that instant, the youth's eyes moved as he raised his head to look at the seventh prince's fierce slash. Danger! His heart sank. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. It was also at this time, it was as though he wasn't under his control as he released a surge of power. Parasitic spell level 1. Buzz! A surge of power surged out from Long Fei's body and instantly entered into the green ox's body. The green ox's eyes darkened, and a similar killing intent flashed past. He didn't wait for the seventh prince's long sword to descend. The green ox suddenly pushed itself up and stood up. Its long horn snapped. Boom! Seventh prince was caught unprepared. He had never expected that the green ox would suddenly attack. Not just him. Even the old man and the girl did not expect it. A sudden burst of power. He fiercely charged forward. It directly sent the seventh prince flying. His chest sunk, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His long sword also fell to the ground. His face was pale, and he collapsed more than 10 meters away. The instant he fell to the ground, he spat out another mouthful of blood. "You're courting death." The seventh prince was enraged. He stepped onto the palanquin, picked up the magic strap, and whipped it against the four clouded leopard. He shouted, "Go!" Seeing the seventh prince injured, the four clouded leopardess did not dare to stop no matter how scared they were. They wouldn't be able to survive if they didn't. Immediately, for clouded leopard S pounced over. It surrounded the green ox. The girl immediately said, "Father, quickly save the water buffalo." The old man did not reply. Actually, the hidden force had been brewing in his sleeves just now. He would not let the seventh prince injure Qingyao. However, the calf's sudden counterattack surprised him. Was it four clouded leopardess now? The old man was in no hurry to make a move. Roar! A clouded leopard pounced over. The great Qingyao did not dodge, and at the moment the clouded leopard appeared, he also charged forward. The two horns slammed into the clouded leopard's body. Bang! Bam! Bang! The clouded leopard crashed into the mountain rock and turned into meat paste, dying instantly. It was also at this time. A strange voice resounded in the youth's mind. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 300 experience point for killing clouded leopard. Huh? The young man was startled. Player Long Fei? Who is it? What a familiar name. At this time, another clouded leopard pounced over and was also killed instantly by the green ox. The other two were the same. In less than half a minute, all four ferocious clouded leopard were instantly killed. At this moment, the time for the parasitic possession technique had come. The power of the green ox returned to the youth's body. The youth seemed to be unable to withstand it and fainted again. However, the voice resounded once again. Ding! Chapter 2204, Mad God System. Chapter 2204, Mad God System. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 300 experience points for killing clouded leopard. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at level 1, level 1. Ding! System prompt. Would you like to view the properties? An unfathomable sound rang out. Although the youth had fallen into a coma again, his consciousness was still incomparably clear at this moment. What is this? Who's talking? That's not right. I seem to have heard this voice before. It's so familiar. It feels even more familiar than the girl's voice just now. Who was this youth? Of course it was Long Fei. Of course he was familiar with the system beep. Ding! He had heard this voice countless times. How could he not be familiar with it? It was just that he was completely different from before. He would cleanse himself of all the lead and reincarnate. Everything had to be slowly awakened by him. His memories had to be awakened. Everything from his previous lives had to be awakened. The celestial sister in the painting had once said that in his previous life, he was the lone star of the heavenly calamity. He had never experienced such pain before, and in this life he had risen to prominence. Player Long Fei. My name is Long Fei. Long Fei, Long Fei, Long Fei. I am Long Fei, the youth said with an uncertain tone. At this moment, he opened up the system and found a lot of strange things inside. These are things that he was once very familiar with. He was a professional player and could play any game in less than 2 hours. Looking at these stats now, he felt the same in his heart. Shocked, but he quickly adapted to it. Cultivation technique. Parasitic spell. It's divided into 10 levels. Every release requires 100 true chi. The cast time is 1 minute and the cooldown time is 2 hours. The higher the level, the stronger the user will be. The current release is at level 1. Just now, I released it once. That means it cannot be released within 2 hours, and the water buffalo is a first-class object. That's why I was able to successfully release it. Long Fei muttered in his heart. Lottery system? Once. There's another lottery draw? What would he draw? Long Fei did not use it immediately. There were many things that he hadn't figured out yet, and he wouldn't use them easily before he did. What if there were any side effects? Mad God system? So, the voice in my head is called the Wild God system? I wonder what kind of power the Mad God system can unleash. The Wild God system. Level 4. Description: arrogant God energy value, stored to a certain extent, can be released. Description 2. Arrogant God energy value can be obtained by killing monsters or by completing a quest. Description 3. The Mad God's energy is too strong, so players use it with caution. So that's how it is. Let's see how many arrogant God energy value he has. Long Fei checked his energy values and found 100 points. It was fully filled and unable to increase any further. What's with the Berserk God's power of 100 points? Long Fei said to himself. Wait, what are these things? Long Fei checked the systems one by one. There was a lottery, an exchange market, all sorts of things, but in the last area floated many rings. These rings looked very ancient, and the first impression they gave him was that they were very powerful. Looking at these rings, an image appeared in his mind. A shadow was slaughtering his way through, crushing all the super powerhouses. There was a sharp pain in his head, and Long Fei found it hard to endure. It hurts, what's going on? After a long time, the images in his head disappeared, and the pain faded. Long Fei went to inspect the rings floating in the system, and muttered, "What are these rings?" The idea moved. He directly picked one up. The idea entered the space ring S. 7 Gods Tribe Divine Pills, 1 God Tribe Divine Weapon, 1 God's Tribe Cultivating Mental Cultivation Method, 1 God's Tribe. The space ring S were filled with all kinds of spiritual treasures. Moreover, a total of 73 pills. Long Fei's heart was moved. There are a total of 73 space ring, and every single one of them has a great treasure. Is this the system's reward? Long Fei was crazy. Out of the 73 rings, there were 3 that belonged to God's tribe's ancestor-level powerhouses. The treasures inside could not be described. Pills, magic weapon S, godly techniques, and all kinds of powerful equipment could be said to be available. Only Long Fei did not know the value of the things in the storage rings, because his memories had disappeared. And again, when his idea moved and wanted to take something out from a space ring, the system beeped a system notification. Ding! Level is not high enough. I can't use it. Ding! Level is not high enough. I can't use it. Ding! Level is not high enough. I can't use it. He tried many times, but it was all the same. His level wasn't high enough, and he couldn't use it. Long Fei immediately scolded in anger and said, "Damn, are you King making fun of me?" Because he didn't know what it was worth, Long Fei grumbled a bit and didn't say anything more. Instead, I studied the experience I gained from killing the clouded leopard with confidence. I have experience killing the demon beast. My current cultivation is at the first rank of the body refinement realm. So you're saying that I can forego the usual path of cultivation? Interesting. Just as Long Fei was checking the capabilities of the system, the entire mountain path was silent. 1 cyan bull defeating 4 demon beasts, and each time they were all killed in an instant. Wasn't this too crazy? The old man and the girl were shocked. The 7th prince was shocked as well. Even the water buffalo himself was stunned. He was also a bit stupefied by what had just happened. However, looking at the 4 dead clouded leopard, he felt better. His aura was very powerful. However, he was Zhao Guo's royal family, 7th prince, the supreme existence of his clan. After being afraid for half a minute, he said solemnly, "He actually dared to assassinate me. Good. All right. Shin Yu sect, right? You dare to treat me like this. I'll make you suffer the consequences of your actions." While they were talking, the seventh prince's expression turned sinister as he shouted, "Old Lin, Buzz!" As soon as his voice fell, a figure landed. An old man stood in front of the palanquin, exuding an ice-cold aura. The old man's expression tensed up, and he took half a step forward to protect the girl behind him. He stared at the old man and said, "Lin Zhong, Elixir Realm, rank 7. The old man raised his eyes and grinned. The surrounding crowd was in an uproar. Powerhouse of the Golden Protector level? Oh my god, there are thousands of people in the entire Zhenwu continent, but there is only one rank. To be able to be ranked on the Elixir S ranking means that his cultivation is at the peak of the Golden Protector level. Too strong. An existence I can't even look up to." Seventh Prince looked at the surrounding shock. What he wanted was this kind of scene. He stared at the old man with a cold smile and said, "Kill them for me. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2205, to see if he is powerful or not. Chapter 2205, to see if he is powerful or not arrogant and domineering. There wasn't that much explanation. He immediately issued the kill order. He dared to block his way and hurt his pet. The most important thing was that he would be sent flying by a cow in front of so many people. He would lose a lot of face. How could they just let him off like that? Lin Zhong's gaze turned cold, and there were no unnecessary problems. Move. His figure was like a phantom. With a step, he appeared in front of the old man. A sword came slashing down. One word, quick. The surrounding people could not react at all. He was ranked 7th on the Elixir ranking, and his cultivation had already reached a terrifying realm that no one could block. In addition to the cold, killing intent that was emitted from his body, he carried a powerful aura. Even Powerhouse at the Elixir realm would be crushed to the point that they couldn't even move. The girl's body trembled slightly. The old man's left hand grabbed the girl's hand, and his right hand blurred. An old smoke gun appeared in his hand, and he blocked with it. Buzz! As the two forces collided, sparks flew in all directions. The old man kicked several times before he managed to stabilize his body. Lin Zhong also retreated 3 steps. His face changed. It looks like the old man is going to lose half a point. However, he clearly knew how much strength he had used in that previous move. Moreover, the old man had protected the girl with one hand and had taken one blow from him with the other. If he was going all out, Lin Zhong felt a chill down his spine. Seventh Prince's face was displeased as he shouted angrily, "Old Lin, what are you cooking? I wanted you to kill him, not beat him back." Lin Zhong's eyes darkened. He stared at the old man and said, "I never expected to hide it so deeply." The long sword moved. Sword images filled the skies as the surrounding space was constantly filled with the sounds of sword hums. Streams of Golden Protector levels power attacked. The old man's expression darkened and said to the girl behind him in a low voice, "Shao Dai, go back to the ox guard." And then the old man stared at the green ox and said, "Bastard, it's all because of you. Now bring the 2 of them away quickly." Shao Dai didn't think too much and immediately ran onto the ox cart. Looking at Long Fei, who was still lying on the ox cart, the expression in his eyes tightened. He looked at the old man and said, "Daddy." The great green ox didn't hesitate and turn around to leave. "You want to leave?" "Humph. If this prince disagrees, where can you go?" Seventh Prince's face was filled with anger. He once again flew out of the palanquin and struck towards Shao Dai, who was on the ox cart. The old man's face tightened. The moment he rushed towards the ox cart, Lin Zhong immediately stopped him. It immediately entangled him. Seventh Prince sinisterly smiled and said, "Die." With ruthless means, the magic strap in his hand lashed out. Clouded leopardess with the body of a demon beast could be whipped until their flesh was lacerated. If this lashes landed on a person's body, half their lives would be gone. Shao Dai secretly trembled. The Azure Ox's huge body suddenly blocked the attack. "Pan! Moo!" When a magic strap landed, the green ox let out a blood-curdling screech. A meter-long hole appeared on its back, and its skin and flesh split open. White bones could be seen, and fresh blood quickly flowed out. "Great water bull!" Xiao Dai shouted. The azure ox trembled. A low roar of pain. Seventh Prince laughed excitedly. Ha ha! Bastard, are you satisfied now? You were sent flying just now? Now, your father wants your life. In that instant, Seventh Prince landed on the ground and leaped up into the air again. The poisonous magic strap in his hand was like a phantom, moving like a spirit serpent in the air, suddenly moved and streaked down like lightning. Great Yellow Ox, be careful, Xiao Dai shouted loudly. The great green bull was simply too enormous. And on such a narrow mountain path, no matter how nimble he was, he wouldn't be able to use it. Moreover, he had to protect Xiao Dai, who was behind him. He didn't dodge or evade. He just held on. The old man's face became anxious. Azure Ox, Lin Zhong sneered. You should worry about yourself instead. The sword stabbed out. After sealing off the old man's entire body, the sword shadows rapidly descended, causing the old man to fall into a dangerous situation. At this time, he was unable to take care of the green ox. Ha ha ha! Bastard Dai! The seventh prince became more and more ferocious. At this moment, Long Fei's body sprung once again, and his entire person sat up. The idea moved parasitic spell. Buzz! 100 true Chi S released. Long Fei's power flowed into the green ox's body, causing its eyes to emit a cold light. Next, his body abruptly stood up and angrily crashed into the seventh prince. It was extremely fast. Seventh prince's eyes froze and his body trembled, but the magic strap in his hand still violently whipped away. Die! Bam! The force of impact. That magic strap with venom did not cause that much damage to the Cyan Bull just now. Other than the parasitic possession of the parasitic spell, its power, defense, and various other attributes would become stronger. A poisonous whip came smashing down. The green ox seemed to have no reaction at all, still angrily charging forward. Seventh Prince's expression changed drastically as he shouted, Old Lin, save me. Boom! Lin Zhong looked at the sudden change that had occurred to the Cyan Bull and was greatly shocked in his heart. He could not be bothered with the old man as his body moved, transforming into a streak of golden light, and blocked the seventh prince's path. Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! The seventh prince was infuriated. The long sword in Lin Zhong's hand pointed forward, and a strong pressure came pressing down heavily. Just the pressure alone was enough to block the charging force of the Cyan Bull. Boom! The green ox landed. The seventh prince laughed savagely. Old Lin, kill him. The seventh on the elixir ranking. His cultivation was extremely strong. Lin Zhong stared at the green ox and felt that it was strange. A mere cow. Even if it was intelligent, even if it had cultivated, it would not be so powerful. Ox was a domestic animal, which was different from the demon beast in the forest. Even if it was powerful, it wouldn't be powerful. However, the power of this green ox was a little strange. Seventh Prince shouted, Lin Zhong, did you not hear what I said? I told you to kill this beast. The green ox charged again. Once again, it was blocked by the powerful aura. The next collision was blocked once again. Lin Zhong snorted. Bastard, are you still thinking of overturning the heavens? The pressure of the golden protector level fiercely pressed down, directly crushing the Cyan Bull to the point where it could not move at all. His four limbs were all bent, and a large amount of fresh blood once again flowed out from the wound on his back. It was incomparably painful. Xiao Dai was worried. Seventh Prince smirked complacently. Bastard, let's see how else you can be arrogant. While they were talking, the magic strap in his hands bore a heavy grudge. Pa, pa, pa. In just a few seconds, the dozen or so whips lashed out. The back of the green ox was badly mutilated, and its spine was exposed. Xiao Dai couldn't stop her tears from flowing out. The seventh prince smiled sinisterly. I'll kill you first, then. He raised his eyes and stared at Xiao Dai, and laughed lewdly. I'll ride you again, huh? Long Fei was a little unhappy in his heart. The reason why he was able to use Parasitic Spell was because he had just leveled up, so all of his skills had instantly cooled down. To think that such an old fellow was able to stop him with just his dignity. Unhappy, very unhappy, If he was unhappy, then he would ignore everything else. Immediately, Long Fei moved. 100 points of arrogant god energy value are required to release the arrogant god force. Let's see if it's powerful or not. Chapter 2206, Overpowering the Imperial Qi. Chapter 2206, Overpowering the Imperial Qi because his memories had disappeared. Long Fei had forgotten everything. Even his memories from Earth had been erased. So much so that he didn't know much about the system. He didn't know anything about the level 4 system either. However, there was no change in his personality. It was still as popular as before. Life and death were still indifferent to it. If he didn't want to accept it, he would do it. Although the young man had been hit by the Seventh Prince's heavy blows, Long Fei still endured a great deal of pain, as if he was being torn apart. After suffering such a huge loss, how could he not show his strength? Immediately, Long Fei did not care about the consequences from the start. The idea moved. Release your arrogant god energy value. Ding! System prompt. Do you wish to release? What nonsense are you talking about? Didn't I say that I would release energy values? Yes, sir. Long Fei shouted in annoyance. Then, the arrogant god energy value within the raging god system turned into a 0, and in that instant, the arrogant god energy value entered Long Fei's parasitic body, the Cyan Ox's body. Boom! A series of explosions sounded. A blood-red light burst out from the green ox's body. Then, the great cyan cow's eyes turned red. The energy aura around its entire body became extremely dark and sinister. Its two gigantic eyes stared at Lin Zhong, who was in midair, and it roared in its heart. Damn, a powerhouse of the elixir is already amazing. His forelimbs kicked out. Boom! The water buffalo, weighing several thousand pounds, immediately soared into the air. Moreover, its speed was extremely fast, and the instant he jumped, the strength stripes could be seen clearly with the naked eye. Suddenly, no one expected it. The old man, Xiao Dai, and the surrounding young disciples were all in a daze, their brains unable to process what had just happened. Isn't this cow too awesome? Holy sh**t. Could it be that the ox is about to ascend? What does it want? Could it be that you want to compete with the elixir S? Heavens, what did I see? Even the cows are flying in the sky. Too shocking. Lin Zhong's expression was the same, but his reaction was extremely fast. The sword moved, and with a deep sound, he said, "Golden Light's sword shield." Boom! Emperor's Qi was released from his body, forming a huge sword shield in front of him. Imperial Qi, the imperial aura of the imperial clan. The Qi of the Zhao Emperor. Emperor's Qi was a type of powerful Qi. This Qi could only be felt by the imperial family, and many powerhouses were praised by the royal family for this reason. The Emperor's aura was very powerful. Lin Zhong was ranked 7th on the elixir ranking. This kind of powerhouse following the hedonistic prince was to cultivate the Emperor's Qi. Now that it was released, the entire Xian Yu mountain range was stunned for a moment. A few powerhouses flew out from the Xian Yu sect. The old man's eyes were filled with shock as he shouted, "Beast, stop!" He wasn't worried about the green ox, but he was worried that the green ox would die. There was probably no one here who understood the power of Emperor's Qi better than him. Even if it managed to knock Lin Zhong away, he wouldn't be able to withstand the backlash and would die. However, but Long Fei didn't care about all that. He lowered his body and charged forward. Lin Zhong laughed coldly. A beast is a beast. They have no brains at all. The 7th prince also laughed coldly with pride. Let's see if you die this time. Obviously, he knew how powerful the Emperor's Qi was. Emperor's Qi was equivalent to a 9 or 5-year-old supreme being. This sort of power crushed everything. Just at this moment, rumble. The green ox smashed into the sword shield. The two forces collided. In that instant, it was as if a ban had been placed on time. He resisted it with all his might. 1 second later. Crack. Kacha. Crack. Asterisk, a cracking sound could be heard as the sword and shield broke apart. One crack after another spread out. Walala. Suddenly it collapsed. The Emperor's Qi sword shield shattered. The green ox's two sharp horns slammed into it angrily. The strength in Lin Zhong's entire body was dispersed by the impact, and his body directly flew out 100 meters before crashing heavily onto the ground. The ground cracked, and with a flick of his body, he bounced back several meters. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. His face turned extremely pale. Breakthrough in one move. The entire scene was silent. The scalp was tingling with numbness. It was hard to imagine. Powerhouse, who was ranked 7th on the elixir ranking, was actually defeated by an ox, and it was even knocked flying while releasing the Emperor's chi. No one would believe it. Everyone let out a deep breath. He looked at the green ox with disbelief. The green ox descended. 7th Prince's body trembled as he backed up. "Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me." The green ox walked up step by step. The 7th Prince trembled even more violently. The liquid from his crotch flowed down, and he was scared to the point where he peed his pants. His face was filled with terror. He didn't dare to look straight at the Azure Ox. If the Elixir S could even send him flying, then they could easily kill him in an instant. How could he not be afraid? However, the Cyan Cow did not even glance at him. To Long Fei, the 7th Prince was nothing more than a fart. While he was sick, he had to take his life. This was a rule that was essential to killing people. Moreover, if killing level 1 monster could give 300 experience, then how many powerhouse would this be? Long Fei became excited. This excitement seemed to come from the depths of his bones. And very familiar. It was as if such scenes happened frequently. Long Fei wondered in his heart. Could it be that it happened many times before? No impression at all. However, his intuition told him that if he killed Lin Zhong, his experience would definitely skyrocket. Boom! Walking in front of Lin Zhong, Long Fei revealed a look of disdain. Powerhouse of the elixir? Is it really that powerful? You still have to die for lousy. In an instant, Long Fei straightened his body, jumped up with all his strength, and smashed down towards Lin Zhong. This time, Lin Zhong's body would at least explode from being stepped on. 7th Prince looked at it and broke out in a cold sweat. He rejoiced in his heart that he wasn't lying on the ground. At this moment, the old man's pupil shrank. With a step, he quickly landed in front of the green ox. From the distant hillside, another figure flew out and shouted, "Stop!" Powerhouse, who was ranked 7th on the elixir ranking, was also the guardian of the 7th Prince. If he died in Xianyu's sect, the consequences would be unimaginable. He absolutely could not die. The old man also anxiously said, "Qing Yo, stop right now." "Did you hear that? Stop." The green ox looked at the old man, but he did not stop. I should say, he wouldn't listen. The Lin Zhong in front of him only had a little bit of HP left. How could he give up on a meat that was in his mouth? Absolutely not. Even if the gods came, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Therefore, Long Fei did not stop. Instead, he used even more strength to stomp down and kill them all. Explode for me. Heavily crushing. However, at this moment, a powerful force enveloped his entire body, and with a flip of his body, he was sent flying several meters away, crashing into the mountain. Bam! Shards and rocks rolled down the mountain, and half of the body of the green ox was buried in them. It was also at this time the mad god's power disappeared. The time for the parasitic spell had also come. He withdrew his strength. Long Fei, who was on the ox cart, stared angrily, and his body fell down once again. Chapter 2207, Super Tasks. Chapter 2207, Super Tasks. The mad god's power disappeared. The power of the parasitic possession technique disappeared. The pain Long Fei endured on the Cyan Cow was actually also the pain his own mind was currently suffering. Adding on to the fact that he had consecutively released the parasitic possession technique, his body was basically unable to withstand it. As a result, he directly fainted. Xiao Dai, who was at the side, was startled. She did not realize that Long Fei had just sat up, and upon seeing him fall once again, she muttered, "Are you awake?" However, she didn't care whether Long Fei was awake or unconscious as she crazily ran towards the water buffalo. A great water buffalo, a great water buffalo. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. Xiao Dai ran over without a care for his own safety. It was also at this time. The three elders landed on the hillside with serious expressions. One of the elders came to the seventh prince's side and bowed. I am truly sorry to have frightened you. Another old man landed beside Lin Zhong and quickly swallowed a pill. He activated the power of his palm and allowed the pill to quickly melt. At the same time, his mind trembled. Such a heavy injury. I'm afraid it will take at least 3 to 5 years to recover. But his gaze shifted to the green ox as he thought to himself, how can an ox possess such immense power? Even powerhouse of the elixir realm can be injured to this extent. Unbelievable. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it at all. After the pill entered his body, Lin Zhong's chi finally returned to normal. The 7 princes, who knew the 3 elders of the Xianyu sect, were the 3 great elders of the Xianyu sect, who were in charge of medicine pills, martial skills, and magic weapons. Other than the sect master, the 3 of them held the highest position in Xianyu sect. He had met her at the engagement banquet at the imperial palace. When the 3 people appeared, the 7th prince immediately trembled. His anger overflowed to the heavens as he stared at the elder and scolded, "You still know how to apologize? This prince almost died here. If I die, your entire Xianyu sect will accompany me in death." The magic weapon elder immediately nodded. Yes, late. Please forgive us, prince." Seeing his expression, the 7th prince flew into a rage. "Next time? You old thing, do you want me to die here? Let me tell you, if my royal father had not taken a fancy to your Xianyu sect, what would his Xianyu sect have counted for? Can he be conferred with the title of Gua tribe? Your sect leader's daughter is qualified to marry my big brother?" He cursed madly. None of the 3 elders dared to retort. This made all the young warriors on the mountain road feel a chill in their hearts. It was clearly the 7th prince who was at fault first. He was clearly the one who had charged in recklessly, but the Xianyu sect didn't dare to do anything. This was the difference between a sect and an empire. After cursing for a while, the 7th prince stared at the green ox buried in the rubble and shouted, "Kill it! There's more!" With a flick of his finger, he pointed at the old man. His gaze once again stopped and landed on Xiao Dai's body, and said, "Have her come to sleep with me tonight." The faces of the 3 elders darkened slightly. An elder said, "Prince, it's this ox that offended you. It is already half dead." As for the 7th prince, didn't wait for him to finish and said, "I don't care. Who makes me unhappy? I will make his entire family unhappy. That ox cart still has a person lying on it. He should be in the same group as them, right? Let's kill them as well." The 3 of them looked at Long Fei, who was on the ox cart. The look in his eyes didn't change much. They did not care about the life of such a person. Big water bowl, wake up, wake up." It was unknown whether it was because he heard Xiao Dai's summons, or because most of the pain that the water buffalo had suffered had been endured by Long Fei, but he could still feel his body moving fiercely. He suddenly stood up. Walala! All the rocks tumbled down. Suddenly, the 7th prince was so frightened that he almost kneeled on the ground. His face turned pale. The 7th prince said angrily, "Did you see that? It's still alive. Now immediately kill it." The great water bull stared. The 7th prince staggered back, unable to say a word. Lin Zhong also walked forward with difficulty and whispered, "This ox is not simple. We cannot stay here for long. I think we should evacuate first." To be able to easily break through the emperor's chi sword shield, how powerful was this cow? Moreover, Zhao Wuji was right. Xianyu sect was not simple. The 7th prince was a hedonistic prince, but he valued his own life greatly. There was nothing more important than one's life. With Lin Zhong saying this, coupled with the fact that the green ox stood up and stared at him aggressively, without saying anything, Lin Zhong turned and walked down the mountain. After walking several meters, he shouted, "This is not the end." The faces of the 3 elders darkened. The magic weapon elder glared at the old man and said, "What have you done?" "Raising what? You have to raise a cow." "Umph. Now that you've offended the seventh prince, I want to see how you're going to explain it to the sect leader." The three of them flicked their sleeves and left in large strides. The old man bitterly smiled. He looked at the green ox and muttered, "When did you become so powerful?" Qingyo was also dumbfounded. He wanted to say, "I didn't do anything," but he could not speak. He was truly innocent. On the other hand, Xiao Dai was the happiest when he saw that Qingyo had survived. He was as happy as a child, but when he saw the wounds on Qingyo's back, he couldn't help but pout. "Father, the great water buffalo was injured to such an extent. That seventh prince is too despicable." Oof. The old man glanced at the wound on Qingyo's back and said, "Let's go back to the sect and see if we can get some antidote." "Right." Xiao Dai thought about how Long Fei had just sat up and said, "He seemed to have woken up just now, and for some reason, he fainted again. Father, could something have happened to him?" The old man looked at it and gently touched Long Fei's pulse. "Says, how strange." Xiao Dai looked at the old man and frowned, saying, "What's wrong?" The old man doubtfully said, "When we saved him, there was nothing in his body, but now he has a strand of power, and his cultivation has also become first-grade refining body. And then, he shouldn't have any injuries in his body, but right now, he seems like a seriously injured person. This is too strange." It was impossible to explain. Xiao Dai giggled and said, "Daddy, maybe we saved a peerless genius. Maybe our Xianyu sect can be saved." The old man glared at him. Xiao Dai also immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare speak further. What a pity! What a pity! If I had known earlier, I would have moved a little faster. I was just a little bit off. 3 days later, in a very simple room, Long Fei woke up and sat on the bed, mumbling to himself. He felt regret in his heart. Hearing a sound from inside the room, Xiao Dai quickly entered the room. Seeing that Long Fei was sitting on the edge of the bed, he immediately smiled and said, "You're finally awake?" Xiao Dai seemed very happy. With a haggard expression, Long Fei knew that she had been taking care of herself for the past few days. It felt familiar. He always felt that he had experienced it before. Jojo's appearance once again appeared in his mind. Long Fei muttered, "Who is she? Why is her face always in my mind?" Suddenly, a system announcement suddenly sounded out in Long Fei's mind. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the super quest. Thank you for your support. I will be responsible for you. I will be responsible for you. The strange beep sounded in his head again. The voice was very gentle and pleasant to the eyes. Although he did not know what this sound was, but every time it rang out, something good happened. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the super quest 7 Women's Diagram. Would you like to view the level of the task? Yes, sir. Long Fei thought in his heart. Quest 7 Women's Diagram. Look for 7 women. Level. Super. Time. Infinite reward. Mission Clue 1. Zhenwu Continent. The description given by the system wasn't much. It could be said to be very few. Quest level was very domineering, 'tis class. It was a little scary. There was only one clue regarding the time and reward, which was the world Long Fei currently resided in, the Zhenwu Continent. In other words, the woman that the Zhenwu Continent was looking for. Long Fei scratched his head and muttered, "Why do you want me to find a woman? What is the 7 Women's Atlas?" He didn't quite understand. This was also because his memories were still sealed and had yet to awaken. Otherwise, he would definitely know why. Xiao Dai, who was at the side, saw Long Fei's nonsense and could not help but mutter to himself, "There shouldn't be any problems with his brain, right?" Long Fei casually replied, "There's really something wrong with my brain. For no reason at all, there was a voice inside. If this wasn't a problem, then what was?" Xiao Dai was stunned, then looked at Long Fei seriously with an apologetic expression. "Sorry, it was all because of me. If I didn't hit you too hard, you wouldn't have become like this. Don't worry, this is the Xianyu sect. My father is an elder of the Xianyu sect. Your injuries were caused by me. I will take responsibility for it." Xiao Dai spoke very seriously. It was just a coincidence that she met Long Fei. And then she accidentally punched Long Fei and made him faint, and then he did not wake up. In order to rush back to Xianyu sect, she could only bring the unconscious Long Fei with her. Life in this world was as fragile as a blade of grass. Killing people for their goods and throwing away corpses in the wilderness was a very normal thing. Xiao Dai did not abandon Long Fei. This also showed that she was very kind. Looking at Long Fei's silly appearance, she blamed herself even more in her heart. Xiao Dai sniffed and said, "Don't worry, I will be responsible for you." Long Fei looked at her. There were a few small freckles near the bridge of his nose, his eyes were pitch black, and had some spirit energy. With two small ponytails, he looked very cute. Long Fei laughed. In Xiao Dai's eyes, Long Fei was smiling foolishly. He was just like a retarded fool. Long Fei was too lazy to explain. Xiao Dai asked, "Do you still remember your name?" "Long Fei. What's your name?" If the voice in his mind addressed him as Long Fei, then his name should be Long Fei. However, he was also very hazy about his name. He didn't say it out loud for a moment. Xiao Dai reproached himself again as he muttered to himself in a low voice, "I've even forgotten my own name. Looks like I'm really stupid." Then he asked, "Do you know where your house is?" Long Fei was startled again. "Home? I really don't know." His memories were blank. Xiao Dai lightly sobbed. "I don't know, it's all my fault that I really made him stupid." She looked pretty cute with her self-reproach. Long Fei's memory did not contain the word home. Who was he and where did he come from? It was all so strange. He was sure he wasn't stupid. He was also sure that he didn't lose his memories. However, it was a blank, as if his memories had been extracted. Seeing the depressed look in Long Fei's eyes and the pitiful look in his eyes, Xiao Dai gently pulled Long Fei into his embrace, and like a big sister taking care of her little brother, gently patted Long Fei's back. "Don't worry, this will be your home from today onwards. My father will definitely let you enter the Xianyu sect." Long Fei did not resist. Half of his face was leaning onto Xiao Dai's chest. Soft. A faint fragrance entered his nose, making him feel very satisfied. This feeling was too comfortable. "This is your home. You don't know your name, but I see a dragon tattoo on your right arm. From today onwards, I will call you along. My name is Xiao Dai." Xiao Dai said softly. He didn't notice at all that Long Fei was rubbing against her chest with all his might, and didn't notice that the corner of Long Fei's mouth was drooling. His mind was filled with evil thoughts. Right? Suddenly, Xiao Dai pushed Long Fei up. The saliva at the corner of Long Fei's mouth was drooling. The expression in Long Fei's eyes secretly changed. However, Xiao Dai had a face filled with heartache, as he said, "How foolish are you all, Long Fei." Following that, Xiao Dai got up and walked out of the room. "A rusty sword," Xiao Dai said. "This is what you found beside you. It should be yours." Long Fei looked at the rusted sword. There were two words on the sword's blade, "Sky." This sword, Long Fei, had an incomparably intimate and familiar feeling, as though he had seen it somewhere. Without waiting for Long Fei to think about it, Xiao Dai asked seriously, "My father said that you have broken through yourself and have reached the first stage of the refinement realm. Do you know how you broke through? Or should I say, my fist can help you break through. Can a fist help a person achieve a breakthrough?" Long Fei immediately shook his head, afraid that Xiao Dai would punch him a few more times. Looking at Long Fei, who was shaking his head, Xiao Dai said softly, "That's true. You've already become a fool. How do you know how you broke through?" While she was speaking, Long Fei's head slowly leaned against Xiao Dai's soft chest again. Xiao Dai lightly patted Long Fei's shoulders again and said, "I thought you were a cultivation genius. If I can't cultivate, then even father can't do anything. I don't care. In any case, I will take responsibility for you to the end. I will definitely take care of you." Long Fei did not pay attention to what Xiao Dai was saying. He was currently eating tofu nonstop. So cool. At this moment, from outside the house, the painful cry of a cow could be heard. Xiao Dai immediately stood up and said, "Mighty water cow." And then, Xiao Dai said to Long Fei, "Rest well. I'll go take a look at the big buffalo." There were tears in the corners of her eyes. Xiao Dai hurriedly walked out as he muttered to himself, "I don't know if Father managed to escape to get his hands on the spirit medicine, but the great water buffalo won't be able to hold on for long." In these 3 days, the water buffalo could be said to be in excruciating pain. A big hole in his back. His spine was exposed. The magic strap in the seventh prince's hands was poisonous, and since it was a magic weapon, there was no way the water buffalo could defend against it. If it didn't have spiritual medicine, it wouldn't be able to live for many days. Humph! Gui Qingshan, are you thinking too much? Xianyu sect doesn't even have enough spirit pellets for this disciple. Yet you want to buy a spirit pellet for an ox? The great elder of the Spirit Dan Pavilion shouted, "Don't even mention the spirit elixir. You won't even be able to obtain a spirit grass." That cow offended the seventh prince, but it already gave you enough face not killing it on the spot. Yet you still want to save it? 2 words. Don't even think about it. Humph! The grand elder flicked his sleeve and snorted coldly. Then he strode back into the spirit pill pavilion. The Xianyu sect was short of spirit pills. It was the same for every single sect in the entire Zhanwu continent. They were short on spirit pills, not to mention the Xianyu sect. Spirit pills were too difficult to concoct. He was a chief elder of Elixir Shop, was also his alchemy master, and controlled the release of the spirit pellets from the Xianyu sect. Although one was not a lot. Even if they were to rot, he would not give it to Gui Qingshan. He would never feed it to an ox. Chapter 2209, Conspiracy Mission. Chapter 2209, Conspiracy Mission. Gui Qingshan did not give up. This green ox grew up together with Xiao Dai. For an entire 16 years, if it died, Xiao Dai would definitely be very sad. Without the healing of the elixir, the green ox will die. Gui Qingshan immediately chased after him and said, Elder E, you are the only one with a spirit pill here. Can you give me one first? The next time I will definitely give it back. I beg you, although it is a beast, but it is also for protection. Do you think you can take it? Yichang Feng paused. He turned and stared at Gui Qingshan and immediately interrupted. Still? What will you pay me back for? Now, that sect master has not come out from seclusion. When you come out, I am afraid that you will not even be able to stay in Xinyu sect. Besides, what do you think our Lingbao Hall is? The charity hall? After Gui Qingshan finished his words today, even if the spirit pill were to rot, he would not give it to you. As for that cow, does it have anything to do with me? Oh yeah, if that cow dies, remember to give me some beef so that I can dry it in the sun. Ha ha ha. Yichang Feng laughed and left. Gui Qingshan's gaze tensed up. He still wanted to catch up. Yichang Feng did not stand on ceremony and shouted, Blast him out, and if he dares to take half a step into the pill pavilion, cripple him. 2 disciples raised their staves and blocked Gui Qingshan's way. Scram! Get out! Gui Qingshan was an elder of the Xianyu sect. However, not many disciples in the upper and lower class took him seriously. In the Xianyu sect, Gui Qingshan should be the least powerful elder and should be said to be even inferior to ordinary disciples. Gui Qingshan frowned, sighed, and slowly walked down the stairs. Humph! It's an elder? In my opinion, he's no better than a dog. Exactly. There isn't even a tiny spirit pill. What a poor bell. So, look and see if he has a single disciple. Who want to follow him? Whoever is with him will suffer. Ha ha! Elder Gay, didn't you want the detoxification panacea? I just happen to have one. I can also give it to you, kneel down, and bark like a dog. Scream. Why didn't you call him? Ha! All kinds of ridiculing laughter came from behind Gui Qingshan. He walked very slowly and did not look back, because he knew that the disciple of Powder Pavilion were messing with him. The detoxification panacea were all in the Spirit Pill Pavilion. Without Yi Changfeng's permission, no one could obtain them. Any pill was incomparably precious. This kind of detoxification panacea was even more the same. Stepping down from the Powder Peak, Gui Qingshan looked at the nearby barren hillside. That was his residence, and also the worst place in the Xianyu sect. The only good thing was, There was a lot of grass, but the water buffalo was more than enough to eat. Now, I'm afraid. Moo! Moo! A few painful cries came from the water buffalo. Gui Qingshan sighed and walked towards the hillside with a face full of worry. In the distance, Xiao Dai had been looking forward the entire time, and when he saw his father walking up the mountain, he immediately went to welcome him and asked anxiously, "Father, did you get the spirit pellets?" Gui Qingshan shook his head and said, "Father is useless." Seeing his father say these two words, Xiao Dai's tears immediately gushed out, and he tried his best to hold it in. "Daddy, they're bullying me too much. Why should I? Every elder has a monthly rule. They can all get their own elixirs, so why don't you have one? Why are you the one to do all the dirty work? On what basis? Just because it's easy to bully? If I don't even give a tiny detoxification panacea, I'll go find that I Chong foam. No, I'm going to find Uncle's sect master." Xiao Dai was about to walk down the mountain. Pulled back by Gui Qingshan, he said, "Xiao Dai, don't disturb the sect master's closed-door cultivation." He knew clearly in his heart that the sect master's seclusion was more important than anything else. "I can't disturb you." Xiao Dai couldn't help but cry out and said, "Then let's just watch as the great water buffalo dies." "Daddy, I don't want the buffalo to die. I don't want." Woo-woo. She hadn't played around with him since she was young and had always ridiculed him for being a bastard. Because she had no mother. It was the great water buffalo that had always been with her. It could be said that the great water buffalo was her kin. Now, looking at the big buffalo screaming in pain, her heart felt like it was being pierced by needles. Why was it so difficult to solve a problem with just an antidote? At the door, Long Fei looked at everything, and although he did not know why he saw Xiao Dai's tears, his heart felt faint pain as he muttered to himself, "Detoxification panacea? Is it difficult to refine? I wonder if the system in my mind has the ability to refine pills." Long Fei walked into the room and opened the system to take a look. He did not find any alchemy technique or similar techniques. Long Fei thought. Seems like he did not. Why do I feel like I have alchemy? It was an intuition. He felt as if he was the strongest alchemy master. Moo, moo, moo. The whole night, the big water buffalo was screaming. Half of Xianyu's sect could not take the noise. Xiao Dai stayed in front of the ox fence the whole night. Early morning, Xiao Dai's eyes were red and swollen. He looked at Long Fei, who was at the door, and said, "Along, wait for breakfast. I'll go cut some grass for the big water bowl." He did not continue. Long Fei had not slept the entire night. He squatted at the entrance of the room and looked at Xiao Dai's swollen eyes. He also didn't speak and directly followed Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai looked at Long Fei and said, "You can't bear to part with your big buffalo, right?" Indeed, Long Fei was also a little reluctant. Both times the parasitic spell had landed on the body of a water buffalo, but the key point was, right now he was only level 1, so his body could only be of level 1. The water buffalo could still borrow his power. If it died and something like yesterday happened, he really would not know who possessed whom anymore. At this moment, the system rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the quest, Save the Great Water Buffalo. Mission, Save the Great Buffalo level. F time, 1 day reward. 500 experience points, 100 true chi, 10 arrogant god force. Ding! Do you accept? Long Fei was startled. A mission was triggered? However, how can I save him? He doesn't have detoxification panacea. How could he save them? Without the detoxification panacea, the water buffalo would have definitely died. However, seeing the system reward, Long Fei gritted his teeth and said, "Accepted. Whatever. I can't just watch it die, can I?" Ding! Accept the mission. Ding! System notification. Mission failed. Level 1. Long Fei was immediately confused. Are you F*** king trying to scam your father? Why didn't you say anything at the beginning? Your father will appear as soon as he accepts you, your sister. Long Fei was furious. If the system was a person, he would definitely explode his chrysanthemum. Looking at Long Fei, she felt joy and anger, as if she was a complete fool. Xiao Dai sighed. Follow me. Don't wander around. Xiao Dai walked down the slope with the sickle in hand and followed behind her. His mind was thinking about how to save the water buffalo, and he was in a hurry right now. If he failed the quest, he would become a level 0. Chapter 2210 Sky Sword with Luck Buffs? Chapter 2210 Sky Sword with Luck Buffs? Fuck, why didn't you stop arguing the whole night? I haven't slept the entire night. If I don't kill it today, I won't believe in kings. He's just a beast. If he dies, so be it. If no one kills him, I'll kill him. A large group of disciples rushed towards the desolate hill. In the distance, the great elder of the magic weapon pavilion, Yi Changfeng, revealed a cold smile as he looked at the disciples below the desolate mountain slope and said disdainfully, Gui Qingshan, after offending the 7th prince, can you still preserve that green ox? Humph, it was also you who brought him back. Now, not only is it that green ox, even you can't protect yourself now. He received the news. When the 7th prince returned to the southern county's palace, he flew into a rage. He was the current empress's youngest son and was her most beloved son. If he was displeased, many people will be displeased. Right now, the Xianyu sect itself was unable to endure any storm or waves. Someone had to be held responsible for charging into the matter of the 7th prince. Along, don't wander around here, Xiao Dai explained, then went to cut the grass. It's winter now. The wild grasses that filled the mountains were incomparably sparse. However, didn't hesitate to enter into some dangerous places for the sake of the big water buffalo. However, her cultivation was a 4th-grade refining body, so gathering grass wasn't too difficult for her. Long Fei crouched to the side and thought hard. How can I save the water buffalo? It's not like those space ring in the system can open it. Those elixir pills are not high enough. Long Fei carried the rust sword and started chopping angrily as he walked, slashing left and right, slowly into the depths of the valley. Suddenly, a golden exclamation mark was suspended above a tiny white flower. Huh, what is this? Long Fei looked down. Spirit grass? Immediately, he carefully dug out the spirit grass. View properties through the system. Spirit grass. White flower of Yueling grade. Level 1 attributes. Detoxification, healing. One of the detoxification panacea, huh? A spirit grass that can cure poisons? Holy SH**T. I can be saved, huh? Long Fei became excited, just like when he saw the advertisement on the telegraph pole. Why is my luck so good? Luck has exploded. How could they find spirit grass in Xianyu sect? Even if it was the lowest level spirit grass, but Long Fei could find it. This luck was too shocking. Long Fei looked at the sky rusted sword in his hand and muttered, You couldn't have gotten lucky to increase your power, right? He had seen this sword countless times. The system cannot display any attributes. He felt like it was an ordinary metal sword covered in rust. Nothing special. However, the word firmament was extremely powerful and possessed extraordinary calligraphy. Long Fei was too lazy to check the attributes of the sky sword. Completing the mission was more important. He quickly searched around the entire valley. Not long after, 3 spirit grass of different attributes were found. This luck, it was not just any good. It was a super explosion. It was as if these spirit grass were waiting for Long Fei. However, he did not know that this was all due to the sky sword's might. The top 10 divine weapons ranked in the universal world. Long Zhanting's weapon. How could it possibly be ordinary? So many space ring could not open it. But this sword was the first one Long Fei had revealed, so he did not enter into the midst of the space ring. Therefore, it had always been by Long Fei's side. However, now that it was covered in rust, it was impossible to tell that it was a divine weapon. Long Fei just so happened to have gathered all the spirit grass used to refine detoxification panacea, just that. Just having spirit grass S was not enough. He had to refine them into spirit pills. This world did not lack spirit grass S. What was lacking were alchemy masters and spirit pellets. Along, where are you? Along, where did you go? Xiao Dai shouted a few times. Long Fei immediately ran over and said, I'm here. Xiao Dai was worried. Didn't I tell you not to run around? Long Fei scratched his head. Xiao Dai felt that his words just now were too harsh, and immediately said, I was too anxious just now. The grass was more or less cut. Let's quickly go back. There are many noisy sounds on the mountain slope. All green grass, let alone an ox. Even Long Fei wanted to take a bite out of it. Xiao Dai's feelings towards the big buffalo were not ordinary. The two of them made a simple gesture and quickly headed up the hill. Which one of you wants to try? Gue Qingshan blocked in front of the ox stall. Normally, he looked like a terrible old man, but now he was extremely serious. A disciple of the Pill Pavilion called out his name. Gue Qingshan, you can either kill it yourself, or we can do it. After arguing with Laozi for the whole night, you're not annoying. Laozi is still annoyed. Exactly. If it was the past, then it's fine. But now we're arguing endlessly. We have to kill it. Either you cure it, or make it shut up forever. Everyone shouted in anger. At this time, yesterday, two disciples of the Pill Tower jumped out again and laughed. Gue Qingshan, as long as you kneel down and learn to bark like a dog, I will give the detoxification panacea to you. As long as there's a detoxification panacea, your cow can be saved. How is it? Ha ha! Many disciples burst out in laughter. Kneel down and bark like a dog? This was no longer a matter of humiliation. This was a severe trampling on one's dignity. Gue Qingshan clenched his fists tightly. While they were talking, the disciple took out a detoxification panacea and said, Do you see that? This is the detoxification panacea. As long as you kneel down and bark like a dog, I'll give it to you. Gue Qingshan, either you kneel down and bark like a dog, or I'll kill this beast. Kneel down and learn to bark like a dog. Kill this beast. Ha ha! There were many people who started the commotion, and all of them had a look of mockery on their faces. For an elder to be stuck at this stage, there was no one left. However, Gue Qingshan's expression was a little complicated. Looking at the disciple of Powder Pavilion, there was no need to think to know that Yi Changfeng was the one who asked him to do this, but he needed the detoxification panacea. For Xiao Dai, he too wanted to save the Shuan Yell. Xiao Dai was extremely important to him. Then again, this green ox was not ordinary either. Gue Qingshan looked at him, loosened his tightly clenched fists, and said, All right. As soon as he finished, the entire audience went silent, and soon after, everyone started laughing at him. Ha ha! Ha ha! Kneel! Kneel! Imitating the barking of a dog. Imitating the barking of a dog. Gue Qingshan exhaled a deep breath. His knees slowly bent, and he knelt down toward disciple of Powder Pavilion. At this moment, Xiao Dai shouted loudly, Daddy, don't. The Cyan Bull also let out a lowing sound. Xiao Dai rushed in and supported Gue Qingshan, saying, Daddy, let's not kneel down to this beast. Disciple of Powder Pavilion became furious and glared at Xiao Dai. Little bastard, who are you calling a beast? Xiao Dai was not weak at all, and shouted, I'm talking about you, what's wrong? Disciple of Powder Pavilion was enraged. I think you must be tired of living. Immediately, he took a step forward and slammed his palm down. It was also at this time. Long Fei stumbled as he rushed in. The sky's sword flashed with a cold light. Thank you for your support. Chapter 22:11 Idiot Can Alchemy? Chapter 22:11 Idiot Can Alchemy? Everything was a little too fast. No one would have thought that the disciple of Powder Pavilion would make a move. Xiao Dai did not. Gue Qingshan did not either. However, Long Fei thought of it. Not in his head, but in his subconscious so that he had stumbled into it. A cold light flashed from the rusted sword in the sky. Disciple of Powder Pavilion threw a palm attack. Bam! Long Fei blocked horizontally with his sword. His arm went numb as he continuously retreated. The Pill Pavilion felt pain on their faces as their palm broke. Fresh blood gushed out, and their bodies retreated a few steps back, staring at Long Fei in shock. As soon as he finished, he attacked again. This time, The palm attack was even more ferocious than the previous one, and the power was multiplied by several times. He is the disciple of Powder Pavilion. Being injured by a Long Fei with such an esteemed identity, he felt extremely displeased in his heart. If he didn't get this round back, would he still have the face to mess around in the future? Long Fei was shocked. It could be said that his reaction just now was a bit unexpected. It was completely a subconscious reaction. He had blocked the sword horizontally, but his arm was in extreme pain, as if it was about to break. One had to know that his current cultivation was only at the first grade refining body. In the words of the system, he was still level 1, and disciple of Powder Pavilion's cultivation was already at the 8th grade of refining body. His cultivation was far above him. Being able to block one blow and deal with it with injuries was already very unbelievable. Another move? Long Fei could not resist it, but he was not afraid either. He forcefully shook his arm, endured the pain, and shouted loudly, "Come! Don't submit, just do it." Although his memories had disappeared, deep in his bones, Long Fei was still that arrogant and rampant person who did not cower, even when he was about to die. "You're courting death," disciple of Powder Pavilion roared over. Xiao Dai cried out in alarm, along. Gue Qingshan was negligent and did not react in time to the first move, but he was careless and did not react in time. The second move was extremely fast, and he did not wait for Long Fei to meet it head-on as his body slightly moved. Boom! Disciple of Powder Pavilion struck his palm against Gue Qingshan's chest. Gue Qingshan did not move. Disciple of Powder Pavilion was knocked back consecutively. His blood was boiling under his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone was shocked. In the Xianyu sect, Gue Qingshan had almost never made a move before that power just now. This person's cultivation wasn't low. Not low at all. To be able to fight against the powerhouse on the Elixir S ranking, his cultivation was not low at all. The power of a body refinement cultivator was nothing to him, so even after forcefully eating a palm, he did not have anything to do with it. Gue Qingshan let out a heavy sigh and said, "If you continue to attack, then I won't be courteous anymore." He showed his might without getting angry. It carried with it a killing intent that was unique to the battlefield. The first impression Long Fei had was that this person had been on the battlefield. Only the court had ever gone to war. Gue Qingshan, disciple of Powder Pavilion, immediately took a healing pill to recuperate his injuries. His complexion had also recovered a little as he looked at Gue Qingshan. "Clan Elder Gue, I brought an order from the Law Enforcement Hall's elder today. If your cow still dares to shout randomly, disrupting the cultivation of the Xianyu sect's disciples, moreover, for disturbing sect master from entering closed-door cultivation." "Humph! Gue Qingshan, I want to see what you will do." Finally, the voice shouted. The people who were originally stunned by Gue Qingshan once again started to discuss with each other. If he keeps on shouting like this, it will make people's hearts flustered. How else can he train? Exactly. The sect master is closing down. If we disturb him, no one can bear the responsibility if he goes berserk. I must kill this beast today. Yes, I'm about to break through to the 4th grade refining body. I don't want this cow to make me go berserk. This year's disciple recruitment is going to begin. Anak screams until late in the day, "What the heck is this?" Xianyu sect has lost all his face. Everyone began to discuss loudly. Gue Qingshan's brows secretly knitted together. Seeing his expression, disciple of Powder Pavilion sneered. "A small matter, but it affects the sect master's closed-door cultivation. Think about it yourself." Just as he finished speaking, Xiao Dai immediately said, "As long as one detoxification panacea is enough to save the water buffalo, can't your spirit pill pavilion help us?" It was all about a spiritual pill. As long as the water buffalo consumed the elixir, its injuries would recover. But they didn't have such a spiritual pill. Detoxification panacea? Disciple of Powder Pavilion smirked and took out the spirit pellet. "You want the detoxification panacea? Then why should I give it to you?" He was the one who knelt down and started barking like a dog. "Or are you going to sleep with me tonight?" "Ha ha!" Xiao Dai clenched his fists tightly and said fiercely, "We are all members of the Xianyu sect. Why can't we help each other?" "Help? Ha! Why should I help you?" Disciple of Powder Pavilion said in disdain. "What qualifications do you have to get my help? Who do you think you are?" "Offending the seventh prince means that our Xianyu sect will likely be in great danger. Tell me, why should I help you?" Xiao Dai's eyes flashed with anger. Long Fei could not bear to see women being wronged, so he shouted, "Isn't it just a detoxification panacea? Let me think of a way." Finished. Everyone stared at him, especially the few disciples of the Pill Pavilion. They looked at Long Fei as if he was a rare animal. Xiao Dai pulled Long Fei and whispered, "Along, stop messing around." "Pucci, ha! Where did this fool come from? Isn't it just a detoxification panacea? Do you know what a detoxification panacea is? Do you know how difficult it is to refine a detoxification panacea? Is this person crazy? Does he know what a pill is? It's easy to say, but can you refine it?" Pills were extremely rare in the Zhenwu continent. The detoxification panacea were also extremely difficult to refine. In the entire Xianyu sect, there were no more than 3 pill refiners who could refine detoxification panacea. The words Long Fei had just said sounded like the words of a fool who didn't know anything. "Xiao Dai, I'll go train." Long Fei was displeased. Just as he finished speaking, there was another wave of mocking laughter. Ha! Do idiots even know alchemy? Wow, a fool can use alchemy. Even a mute would want to speak. Ha! A few of the disciple of Powder Pavilion laughed extremely hard. Long Fei stopped and stared at them, then said, "What if I can refine it?" Disciple of Powder Pavilion immediately said, "You could do anything you want, but what if you can't refine it?" Long Fei said, "Anything is fine." The disciple of Powder Pavilion laughed sinisterly and said, "You're the one who said that." Xiao Dai pulled Long Fei along, signaling him not to be rash. Gue Qingshan could not help but look at Long Fei and slightly shook his head. Refining detoxification panacea? Even though the pill was only a Tier 1 pill, even a Tier 3 pill refiner would not dare to claim that it was easy to refine one. The success rate of pills in this world was too low. How could Long Fei, a first-grade refining body cultivator who did not understand alchemy, refine such a pill? Chapter 2212, Iron Cauldron Alchemy. Chapter 2212, Iron Cauldron Alchemy. Gue Qingshan did not hold any hope. It did not stop Long Fei either. No matter what, it was just a child's play. Along, don't mess around. You can't concoct a spirit pill. You don't even understand alchemy. Xiao Dai said anxiously. Long Fei ignored him and walked towards the kitchen. To the kitchen? Ha! He couldn't be thinking of going to the kitchen to cook a few dishes, right? Ha! Didn't he say he wanted alchemy? What are you doing in the kitchen? Idiot. He's just a complete idiot. I'm going to die from laughter. Everyone laughed out loud. Gue Qingshan urged and said, "Disperse. I will take care of the Cyan Ox's matter. I will not let him affect everyone's cultivation again. Disperse." Gue Qingshan, that brat just promised me that if you guys can't refine the detoxification panacea, then do whatever I say. You can't scatter right now. Disciple of Powder Pavilion had to get back at him, to be pushed back by Gue Qingshan. That was because his cultivation was not high enough. However, the wound on his palm was still burning painfully. If he didn't get it back, then his surname wouldn't be Lin. Gue Qingshan was slightly angered and said, "Why are you competing with a fool? Does he understand alchemy? What does his understanding of alchemy have to do with me?" He said it. If he can't make it today, then he'll have to kneel down and kowtow to me, imitating a dog's bark. Disciple of Powder Pavilion laughed proudly. Xiao Dai became angry and said, "Why do you like to make people kneel and learn to bark like dogs? Did you become more of a dog in your previous life?" Disciple of Powder Pavilion glared at him fiercely. Seeing Gue Qingshan, he did not dare make another move. Lin Yu laughed. "It's him that said it. I'll be waiting here. If he can't concoct the pill, then you guys can just let me see." After saying that, he gave a few meaningful glances. Immediately, all the disciples started to cheer. "We're not leaving either. Anyways, this cow wheat is too annoying. I'll be staying here to enjoy the show today. I would like to see how a fool performs with alchemy." No one left. Gui Qingshan's eyes became anxious. Xiao Dai ran into the kitchen angrily. When he walked into the kitchen, he found Long Fei squatting in a corner with his hands behind his head. "How did you refine it? Where should I start with the first step? How should I refine it?" Long Fei thought hard. He felt that he could use alchemy, and it was very strong, but he just couldn't think of how to refine it. Seeing him like this caused Xiao Dai's heart to faintly ache. He immediately walked forward and squatted down. "Along, don't be like this. I know you are doing this for my own good, but you don't even understand alchemy." Long Fei blocked the attack for her. Then he would stand up for her. Xiao Dai was extremely grateful in his heart. However, the matter of alchemy wasn't something that could be completed just by talking about it. It wasn't even something that could be done by a pill master. So how could one refine medicinal pellets? Long Fei continued to hold his head and think, "What do I want to do? How exactly do you want the alchemy? What should I do to create it?" Long Fei's mind was in a frenzy as he hysterically roared out. He had always been thinking that this kind of power was also constantly impacting his sealed memories, but he didn't know why, but it seemed to be like the tip of a bull's eye. Long Fei acted as if he was possessed. Xiao Dai became even more worried. "Along, calm down. Don't think about it. Don't think about alchemy anymore. Don't think about that. With my father here, they wouldn't dare to hurt you." "Along." Xiao Dai's voice sounded. Long Fei could not control his thoughts. Suddenly, a voice came from the memory. "The world is the furnace, and naturally, the world is the fire." This voice was very familiar. Very familiar. Long Fei's body trembled. His eyes flashed with a trace of light, and he muttered, "This is the alchemy?" Then, Long Fei abruptly stood up and said, "Xiao Dai, light the fire." "Huh?" Xiao Dai was startled. Long Fei repeated once again, "Light the fire." Xiao Dai looked at Long Fei's sudden change in attitude and did not think too much about it. In his heart, Long Fei was just a person beaten silly by her. Heaven and earth as a furnace. "I don't have the true qi right now, so I'm unable to wield such a strong power. If you don't have a pill furnace, use a pot instead." Long Fei muttered in his heart. "Of course it's fire. The power of nature is fire. I can't control it either." Long Fei thought in his heart. He felt it. The voices that had just appeared in his mind. The methods of alchemy were too brilliant, and he was completely unable to understand them. They were not something that an ordinary person could control. However, although it was very profound, the basic alchemy steps had been stated very clearly. Huff! Long Fei looked at the sky, rusted sword at his waist, and muttered, "I'll have to fight it out. Hopefully, you will still bring me good luck." To be able to find 3 spirit grass in a row in such a barren valley, it just so happened to be the spirit grass that the detoxification panacea needed. He had some heaven-defying luck. "Look, there's smoke coming out. Smoke from the chimney. Ha ha. Do you want to cook? I haven't had my breakfast yet, so I'll be eating here. Ha ha." He can't really be so stupid as to use his alchemy, right? Lin Yu sneered and said disdainfully, "You want to refine a detoxification panacea with just that fool? Humph. Forget about him having a spirit grass. Even if he had a spirit grass, it would still not be possible to refine it successfully. Get ready to kneel down and bark like a dog." Ha ha. He had won the bet. He wanted to take revenge and even humiliate Gui Qingshan to a great extent. Moreover, this damn green ox was about to die too. Without detoxification panacea, he wouldn't be able to survive this day. Gui Qingshan placed a blade of grass Xiao Dai cut in front of Qing Niu and muttered, "Old partner, go ahead and relax after eating this." This grass was all cut by Xiao Dai early in the morning. The great green bull seemed to understand. He stood up with difficulty and ate the green grass. Tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. He knew that his time was up. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Gui Qingshan also looked at the chimney in the kitchen and shook his head with a bitter smile. He was very clear on how difficult it was to refine detoxification panacea. It was impossible for him to refine it. In the kitchen, Xiao Dai said, "It's on fire." Long Fei said, "Not strong enough. Add more firewood." Xiao Dai looked at the pot that was burning red, and even the iron pot would melt if he continued to heat it up. However, when he looked at Long Fei's serious expression, he couldn't bear it anymore. He continued to add firewood to the stove and muttered, "A long, thank you." The voice was very soft. Long Fei did not hear it. Xiao Dai looked at the fire and said softly, "I know that the water ox can't be saved, so I feel uncomfortable in my heart. It feels so bad. No one has played with me since I was young and said that I was a wild seed picked up from the mountains and that the water ox will accompany me." As he said that, Xiao Dai began to sob lightly. Long Fei did not listen to what she said at all, because, at this moment, Long Fei had entered a state of selflessness. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.